Hey guys, tonight we're diving into a tale of fire, chaos, and the terrifying start of the Viking Age. Imagine it, a misty morning on the jagged cliffs of Northumbria, England. The monastery of Lindisfarne stretches along the rocky shore like it's been plopped there by the gods themselves. Candles flickering in stone halls, monks stumbling around in oversized robes, probably tripping over each other as they search for the perfect prayer position. You probably wouldn't survive this morning if you were one of them, but that's the beauty of storytelling, right? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Go ahead, I'll wait. Pause for effect. Okay, good. Now comment below where you're watching from and what time it is locally. I want to see the global crew tuning in. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The morning air hangs heavy with sea spray and mist. Inside the monastery, monks shuffle along the cold stone floors, the soft rustle of robes echoing through narrow corridors. Candles flicker, casting dancing shadows over shelves stacked with glowing manuscripts, their ink barely dry from the night's work. Somewhere in the distance, a rooster crows, but even its sharp cry is swallowed by the heavy fog rolling in from the North Sea. Everything is calm, serene, the kind of calm that makes you feel like history itself is holding its breath. Out on the cliffs, a monk named Alfric peers over the edge, squinting through the gray haze. For decades, Lindisfarne has been a haven. Pilgrims cross treacherous waters for solace, kings send treasures of gold and silver, and the library grows richer with every passing year. Today, however, something feels off. There's a movement on the water, a dark, sleek line cutting across the horizon. At first he thinks it might be a cloud reflected on the sea, but then he sees it. A long, sinuous shape gliding with unnerving precision. A ship? No, more than a ship, a serpent made of wood slicing through the waves. Other monks notice, whispering among themselves. A storm? One asks. Storms do not glide like this, another replies, voice trembling. Their hands clutch rosaries as they scan the horizon. One ship becomes two, two becomes half a dozen, and soon dozens of dragon-headed longships fill the foggy morning. The sight is mesmerizing, terrifying, almost surreal, like watching a nightmare unfold in slow motion.
Edred, the abbot, rushes toward the cliff's edge, robes flapping in the chill wind. He squints at the approaching fleet, stomach twisting as he takes in the black sails and fierce dragon heads glinting in the pale sunlight. His heart hammers. Time seems to stretch. Each longship cuts closer to shore with terrifying deliberation. The monks fall to their knees, muttering frantic prayers, some rocking back and forth. The air grows thick with tension, and with the smell of the sea mingled with something else. A metallic tang that makes mouths water and stomachs churn. A scream pierces the morning calm. Ilfric points. They are coming! The first longboat touches the sand with a deafening crash. Axes gleam as warriors leap out, muscles taut and glistening, naked from the waist up, shields clashing in rhythm with war cries. Torches ignite, casting flickering shadows across the monastery walls. Screams fill the air, some muffled, some shrill, some despairing. The monks try to resist, hands raised, eyes wide with terror, but their prayers are drowned out by the roar of the invaders. Gold and silver, sacred relics, manuscripts, painstakingly copied over generations. All are ripped from shelves and thrown into flames. The secret halls of Lindisfarne, once a place of serenity and devotion, are transformed into chaos incarnate. Every stone, every beam, every flickering candle becomes a witness to horror. The Vikings move with ruthless precision. They are not here merely to plunder. They are here to terrorize, to send a message across the lands. The Northmen have arrived.
Edred watches helplessly. Smoke curls skyward, ash falling like snow over the cliffs and shore. Flames lick the edges of the monastery library, devouring centuries of knowledge. Young novices scream and scatter, elders fall in prayerful terror, and the monks' chants are replaced by the deafening clang of steel on steel. Every second stretches into eternity, a moment suspended between life and death. Yet, amidst the destruction, hope clings to the shadows. A trembling monk, barely able to move through the chaos, hides one precious manuscript beneath a loose floorboard. Perhaps, centuries later, someone will discover it, a faint reminder that even in the darkest hour, humanity finds a way to survive. The Vikings, their spoils heavy, retreat to their ships. Lindisfarne smolders, silent, except for the wind and distant sea. This is only the beginning. The terror of the Northmen will ripple across Europe, a warning to kingdoms far and wide, and history will remember the day Lindisfarne fell as the first true shock of the Viking Age.
The Viking longships smash against the rocks with a sound like thunder on stone. Warriors leap from their vessels, their bare feet hitting the sand, axes swinging. The air is electric, filled with the scent of salt, smoke, and fear. The monks scramble, hands raised, eyes wide, stumbling over rocks and each other. Some clutch their rosaries so tightly their knuckles whiten, whispering prayers that crack under the tension of panic. Edred's voice rises above the chaos, commanding, pleading, but it is swallowed by the roar of the invaders. The Vikings move with terrifying coordination, almost as if the wind itself guides them. They tear through the monastery doors, axes splintering wood, shields crashing against stone. Candles fall and ignite manuscripts, the flames leaping hungrily, sending clouds of smoke curling into the morning sky. A young monk named Leofric tries to shield a chest of illuminated texts, but a Viking's axe crashes into it, scattering parchment and gold coins across the floor. The boy screams, ducking as another warrior swings wildly, eyes wild with bloodlust. Outside, the tide carries the screams and roars along the cliffs, a chorus of terror that seems to make the very earth shiver.
The Vikings are methodical. They spare nothing. Secret relics, gifts from kings, and even simple wooden crucifixes are snatched or smashed. The monks' attempts at resistance are pathetic against the sea of fury descending upon them. Some monks throw themselves in front of the attackers, shielding the younger novices with their own bodies. Others hurl anything they can grasp, pots, stones, candlelits, anything to slow the onslaught, but it is futile. Edred surveys the devastation, heart hammering, mind racing. His eyes lock on the library, the heart of Lindisfarne. Manuscripts painstakingly copied over decades, even centuries, are stacked neatly, waiting to preserve knowledge for generations. Now they are under siege. Flames consume the edges of the vellum, curling letters into ash. A gasp of horror escapes his lips. One of the Vikings tosses a torch carelessly, and a shelf of precious manuscripts bursts into a blaze that races across the room like wildfire. Outside, Elfric and a handful of monks try to regroup near the cliffs. Waves crash relentlessly, the wind whipping their robes. The Vikings are everywhere,
leaping from ship to sand, chanting, laughing, and cutting a path through anyone who dares oppose them. The smell of iron and fire fills every corner of the monastery, suffocating the monks and forcing them to stumble blindly through the smoke.
Suddenly, a Viking pauses, looking curiously at a monk clutching a small chest of relics. He tilts his head, grinning, then smashes the chest to pieces with a single swing of his axe. The sound is deafening, echoing across the cliffs. Another monk collapses, clutching a singed manuscript to his chest, eyes wide with disbelief. Edred, frozen in place, feels the weight of helplessness settle over him. The attack is relentless. No corner is safe. The Vikings move like shadows, darting between walls, doors, and windows, cutting down anyone in their path. The sound of axes, shields, and screams forms a grim symphony, a chorus that will echo in the minds of anyone who hears it. Smoke and ash swirl like a storm, making it impossible to see, to breathe, to think. Each moment stretches, every second feels like an eternity as the monks struggle to survive the chaos. Yet even amidst despair, small acts of courage emerge. A pair of older monks push young novices into a hidden cellar, covering the entrance with heavy stones. Their hands shake, sweat and blood mixing on their palms, but they know this is the only chance to save the knowledge and lives entrusted to them. Outside, Leofric grabs the hand of a terrified novice, dragging him to a narrow passage along the cliffs. Waves crash against the rocks below, a constant reminder that safety may only exist beyond these shores.
The Vikings, after nearly an hour of destruction, begin to retreat, carrying their plunder. The smoke thickens, curling into the morning sky, black clouds mingling with the mist. Lindisfarne stands scarred and smoldering, silent except for the wind and the distant crash of waves. The once peaceful monastery has been transformed into a battlefield of fire and ash, leaving nothing untouched by the fury of the Northmen. Edred kneels among the rubble, eyes burning, throat dry from screaming prayers. Yet he notices a single manuscript hidden beneath a fallen beam. He reaches out, fingers trembling, touching the delicate pages. It is a fragile hope, a reminder that even in moments of unimaginable terror, humanity can cling to light, knowledge, and faith. This small act of preservation will echo through centuries, long after the dragon ships have disappeared beyond the horizon. The monks emerge from hiding, faces streaked with soot and tears. They look around at what remains of their home. Walls scorched, altars overturned, and precious artifacts gone. The silence that follows is deafening, broken only by the crackling of dying flames. The island has been forever changed, a symbol of the raw, brutal power of the Northmen, and the beginning of an era that will shape the course of England and Europe alike.
The tide carries away the last Viking longships, sails disappearing into the fog. The monks gather on the cliffs, staring out at the receding shadows. Every survivor knows that this is only the start. The fear that gripped them will ripple outward, reaching kingdoms and kings, warning that the Northmen have arrived and that none are safe. Edred closes his eyes, murmuring a prayer for those lost, for the knowledge burned, and for the courage to continue. Somewhere in the windswept cliffs of Lindisfarne, amidst the ash and debris, a new chapter of history has begun. A chapter marked by terror, courage, and the relentless march of the Viking Age.
The smoke curls into the pale morning sky, the acrid scent of burning wood and parchment stinging the nostrils. Lindisfarne lies in ruins, but the survivors move cautiously, stepping over ash-covered stones and shattered relics. Every shadow feels like a threat, Every distant sound could signal another attack. The monastery's once hallowed halls now resemble a battlefield frozen in the aftermath of chaos.
Outside, the cliffs offer a grim panorama of the aftermath. The Viking longships have vanished into the morning mist, leaving only the wreckage of wooden planks, broken oars, and scattered weapons. The tide has washed away much of the debris, but the scars of fire and steel remain etched into the landscape. Waves crash relentlessly against the cliffs, carrying a harsh, indifferent rhythm that seems to mock the monks' despair. Alfric kneels by a shattered altar, sweeping away the ash with trembling hands. The gold and silver gifts sent by kings, now twisted or melted in the fire, are gathered as best they can. "It is gone," he whispers, voice cracking. "Everything, all gone." Yet Edred places a hand on his shoulder, his eyes scanning the horizon. "No," he says quietly, "not everything. What we save, we carry forward. That is enough to fight another day." The survivors begin to take stock of their numbers. Some of the older monks are missing. Others lie injured, singed, or beaten. There was no time for mourning, only survival. They band together, checking the perimeter of the monastery, listening intently to the wind and the crashing waves. Every sound is a potential threat, every movement a possible omen.
They discover small signs of life among the wreckage. A novice hidden under a pile of splintered wood. A young monk clutching a single manuscript against his chest, eyes wide with terror, yet burning with determination. These small miracles bolster the group's spirits. Even in the face of overwhelming devastation, the monks cling to hope. Edred gathers the remaining manuscripts into a makeshift chest, tying it securely with frayed rope. The chest is heavy, but every step is a statement. Knowledge and faith cannot be so easily extinguished. They move it to a hidden cellar, reinforced with stone and sandbags, a secret haven to preserve their culture and teachings. Outside, the wind picks up, carrying the faint echo of the Vikings' war cries across the sea. The monks know this is not the end, only the first wave. As the day stretches on, the monks attempt to rebuild some semblance of order. Broken doors are propped up with rocks. Makeshift altars are erected using fallen beams. They chant prayers softly, voices shaky but insistent. The rhythm of devotion returns, slowly, a fragile yet defiant heartbeat in the midst of destruction.
Meanwhile, the cliffs tell another story. Seagulls wheel above, scavenging the remains of what was once precious. The tide continues to wash over the sand, erasing footprints of both monks and Vikings alike. Nature, indifferent to human conflict, reclaims parts of the island, leaving the survivors to navigate both the debris of battle and the harsh landscape around them. Edred climbs to the highest cliff, scanning the horizon. His eyes catch a faint silhouette of a Viking ship, far off but still in view. His stomach twists. He knows these raids will continue. Lindisfarne was only the beginning. The Vikings are relentless, their thirst for plunder and terror unquenchable. England will face many more shocks, and yet the courage displayed by this small band of monks stands as a testament to human resilience. Inside, Alfric tends to the injured, splinting limbs with scraps of wood, binding burns with torn cloth. He murmurs encouragements, knowing the physical wounds are only part of the trauma. The psychological scars, the terror, the helplessness, the loss of centuries of accumulated wisdom will linger far longer. But the act of caring, of preserving life and knowledge, becomes a defiance as potent as any weapon.
As night falls, the island is quiet, the chaos of the day reduced to smoldering ruins and distant echoes. Aelfric stands at the edge of the cliffs, looking down at the blackened sand. "We survived," he whispers, almost in disbelief. "But for how long?" Edred joins him, placing a steadying hand on his shoulder. "As long as we breathe, we endure. This is not the end, only a beginning." By candlelight, the monks resume their prayers, their voices a tentative murmur against the howling wind outside. The horrors of the morning are etched into their memory, but so too is their resolve. The manuscripts they've saved, the lives they've preserved, form a fragile thread connecting past, present, and future. Through fire and blood, Lindisfarne endures. And somewhere beyond the cliffs, beyond the sea and fog, the Viking longships sail onward, their fury unspent, their reach unbounded. The monks know that these raids are not isolated. They are the first tremors of an era that will sweep across England and Europe, changing everything in its wake. But for tonight, Lindisfarne's survivors cling to what they have, breathing, enduring, and preserving the fragile light of knowledge amidst the darkness of the Northmen.
The morning light barely breaks through the lingering smoke and mist over Lindisfarne. The island seems smaller somehow, as if the fury of the previous day has shrunk it, leaving nothing but charred stones and scattered memories. The monks move cautiously, their robes damp with sea spray, their feet brushing against sand that carries the scent of ash. Every step feels heavy, weighted by the terror of what they have endured and the uncertainty of what may come next. Edred gathers the survivors near the cliffs, surveying the horizon. The waves crash relentlessly against jagged rocks, indifferent to the human chaos left in their wake. The blackened remnants of the Viking longships are nowhere to be seen, but their shadow lingers in the minds of the monks. Each man and boy remembers the flash of axes, the roar of war cries, the searing heat of flames consuming centuries of accumulated knowledge. Every heartbeat is a reminder that Lindisfarne will never be the same. The monks begin to assess the damage. Shelves have collapsed, manuscripts are charred or missing, altars have been overturned, and relics smashed. The monastery's once pristine halls are now a labyrinth of scorched wood, ash, and rubble. Yet, amidst this ruin, a fragile determination begins to emerge. Each rescued scroll, each salvaged relic is a small victory, a testament to their resilience. Edred instructs the monks to carefully transport these treasures to the hidden cellar, reinforcing their makeshift sanctuary with rocks, sandbags, and heavy timber.
Aelfric moves methodically through the debris, gathering what he can and speaking softly to the terrified novices. "Every step we take, every item we save is a promise," he murmurs. "A promise that we will endure, that our faith, our knowledge will not be extinguished." His voice, though calm, trembles under the weight of despair. Yet even in his uncertainty, a spark of hope ignites, a reminder that survival is more than just breathing. It is preserving the very essence of who they are. Outside, the cliffs reveal further evidence of the Viking raid. Broken planks, shattered oars, discarded shields, and abandoned weapons litter the shore. The tide rolls in and out, washing away some of the debris, carrying remnants of the day's horrors into the open sea. The monks watch in silence, understanding that nature itself has begun to reclaim what the Vikings sought to claim. The rhythmic crash of waves and the cry of distant gulls form a haunting soundtrack to the destruction, both beautiful and terrifying in its impartiality. The survivors begin organizing themselves,
tending to the injured and comforting those who have lost friends, mentors, and family members. Splints are fashioned from broken beams, burnt cloth binds wounds, and whispered prayers filled the corridors of the ruined monastery. The physical scars are painful, but the emotional and spiritual wounds run deeper. Each monk grapples with the realization that the world beyond their walls is no longer safe, that the Northmen have arrived and their raids are only beginning.
Despite the devastation, acts of quiet heroism emerge. A novice discovers a small manuscript, charred at the edges but intact. He carries it reverently to the hidden cellar, eyes wide with awe and fear. Another monk uses fallen beams to rebuild a collapsed doorway, creating a secure passage to the sanctuary below. Edred moves among them, offering guidance and reassurance, his voice steady despite the tremors in his heart. "We will rebuild," he declares. "We will endure. Our faith, our knowledge, our courage, they will not be stolen from us." As the day wears on, the monks attempt to restore a sense of normalcy. Candles are relit where possible, and prayers resume, soft at first, then growing in strength. The familiar rhythm of devotion begins to return, a fragile heartbeat amidst the smoldering ruins. Each recited psalm, each whispered prayer is an act of defiance, a signal that Lindisfarne will continue to exist, that its spirit cannot be destroyed by mere fire and steel. Beyond the monastery, the wider world begins to feel the ripple of the Viking attack. News spreads quickly, carried by terrified travelers and survivors who reach other settlements. The raid on Lindisfarne becomes a cautionary tale, a warning that no kingdom, no monastery, no village is beyond reach. England trembles at the thought of the Northmen, and kings begin to prepare for the inevitable raids to come. The shockwaves of terror spread far and wide, reshaping politics, military strategy, and the psyche of a continent.
Back on the island, Edred and his monks work tirelessly. Each day is a careful balance of restoration and vigilance. They check the cliffs, monitor the horizon, and teach the younger novices to hide manuscripts and relics in secret compartments. The preservation of knowledge becomes their highest priority, a sacred duty to ensure that future generations can learn, even if the present has been ravaged. Night falls again, and the monastery is quiet, though not empty. The monks take turns keeping watch, alert to every sound, the crack of a branch, the distant howl of wind, and the faint echo of a wave breaking against the cliffs. Sleep comes in short bursts, filled with dreams of fire, axes, and screaming voices. Yet even in these haunted nights, the monks find resolve, understanding that survival is not just physical, it is spiritual, mental, and moral. Alfric sits at the edge of the cliffs, staring out at the dark horizon. "Will they return?" he whispers. Edred joins him, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "Perhaps," he says, voice calm but firm, "but they will not find us unprepared. We are Lindisfarne. We endure, we learn, and we survive." As the night deepens, the monks light a single candle in the chapel, its small flame flickering against the darkness. It casts long shadows over scorched walls and blackened stone, a symbol of hope, resilience, and the enduring human spirit. Lindisfarne may be wounded, but it is not defeated. The monks cling to life, to knowledge, and to each other, ready to face the challenges that the next dawn may bring. Somewhere beyond the cliffs, the Viking ships sail farther along the coast, their fury unspent, their reach unbounded. The monks know that these raids are only the beginning,
a prelude to a series of attacks that will test the strength, courage, and faith of every settlement in England. But for now, Lindisfarne survivors hold on to their fragile sanctuary, the flickering candle a beacon of defiance against the darkness. Through fire, blood, and terror, the monastery endures. And so does the story, a story that will echo through centuries, a testament to courage, faith, and the enduring power of human resilience in the face of unimaginable horror.
The morning light spreads over the island, revealing a landscape still scarred by fire and chaos. Blackened timbers jut from the sand, and ash coats every surface like a thin, unrelenting blanket. The monks move carefully, avoiding embers that still smolder in hidden corners, their faces set with determination and exhaustion. Each step is deliberate, a balance between tending to their injuries and salvaging what remains of their sacred home. Edred directs the monks with quiet authority. "We have survived," he says, voice steady despite the strain in his chest. "And now we must prepare. Today we preserve, tomorrow we rebuild, and always we endure." The monks nod, each man and boy feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on them. Their work is not just physical, it is spiritual, a duty to ensure that Lindisfarne's knowledge and faith survive beyond this attack. Outside, the cliffs reveal a stark panorama. The tide has carried away much of the wreckage, but the scars of battle remained etched into the land. Shattered shields, broken oars, and discarded weapons are scattered across the sand, evidence of the Vikings' brutal efficiency. The sea stretches endlessly beyond, a gray, rolling expanse, hinting at future raids and dangers yet to come. Every wave seems to whisper a warning. The Northmen are coming again, and England will never be untouched.
Elfric gathers a small group of novices and leads them to inspect the hidden cellar. Inside, the manuscripts and relics are arranged carefully, each item catalogued and placed with precision. Their delicate pages are fragile, each word inked with care by hands long gone. The monks move silently, reverently, understanding the weight of their charge. Every scroll preserved is a victory, a spark of light amidst the shadows of destruction. Adred watches the sea from the cliffs, a furrow in his brow. He knows the Vikings will return. Their raids are not isolated incidents. They are deliberate strikes, designed to terrorize and subjugate. England's kingdoms are vulnerable, divided, and unprepared for the scale of the fury to come. Each monastery, each village along the coast is a potential target. Yet he also knows that courage, strategy, and vigilance can mitigate the worst of these attacks. Lindisfarne may be scarred, but its people are resilient. The monks spend the day reinforcing their defenses. Windows are barred with heavy timbers, doors shored up, and lookout points established along the cliffs. The youngest novices are instructed in vigilance, taught to recognize the signs of approaching ships, to alert the others, and to hide manuscripts in secret compartments. Every moment is a lesson in survival. Every act of preparation a shield against the inevitable.
Even as they work, the psychological impact of the raid lingers. Dreams of axes, fire, and screaming voices haunt the monks' nights. Some struggle with sleeplessness, clutching relics and manuscripts to their chests, praying that the next dawn will be kinder. The trauma is heavy, yet it forges bonds of solidarity among the survivors. They share stories of what they saw, of friends lost and small victories won. In recounting these moments, they process grief and transform fear into determination. Meanwhile, word of Lindisfarne's destruction spreads across England. Messengers recount the horror to kings and nobles, describing the ferocity of the Northmen and the vulnerability of the coasts. Panic spreads as tales of dragon-headed ships and ruthless warriors reach settlements far inland. The raid serves as a grim warning. The Vikings are not merely raiders. They are a force capable of reshaping entire kingdoms. The fear ignites a chain reaction, prompting local leaders to consider new defenses, alliances, and strategies to confront this emerging threat. Back on the island, the monks turn their attention to restoring the sanctity of the monastery. Broken altars are repaired as best they can, blackened walls scrubbed, and damaged manuscripts carefully mended or hidden away. Every act is deliberate, a declaration that despite the violence, Lindisfarne's spiritual heart remains intact. The monks chant softly, the rhythm of prayer weaving a fragile shield against despair. Even amidst the ruins, the sound of devotion persists, a testament to human resilience and faith.
Edred and Aelfric discuss the lessons of the attack. "We cannot fight them in open combat," Edred says, voice low and steady. "Our strength is knowledge, faith, and caution. We survive by outthinking them, by preserving what matters most." Aelfric nods, understanding that the preservation of manuscripts and relics is not mere tradition. It is a strategic act, safeguarding history and culture from annihilation.
Beyond the monastery, the horizon remains watchful. The Vikings have retreated, but the memory of their attack lingers like smoke in the wind. The survivors know that these raids will continue, that the Northmen will return, and that England must adapt or perish. Yet, for Lindisfarne, the small acts of courage, the hidden manuscripts, and the unwavering determination of its monks ensure that the island's spirit endures. By the final hours of the day, the monastery has transformed from a scene of chaos to one of careful order. Fire-damaged wood is cleared, manuscripts are cataloged and secured, and altars are restored as best they can. The monks gather for evening prayers, their voices soft but resolute. Each chant, each whispered invocation reinforces the fragile shield of faith and hope surrounding the island. Lindisfarne has survived the storm, and the story of its endurance will resonate across generations, a testament to courage in the face of overwhelming darkness. The Northmen may roam the seas, their long ships cutting through fog and wave with deadly purpose, but Lindisfarne stands as a symbol of resistance. Its survivors, battered but unbroken, continue their sacred work, preserving knowledge, faith, and life itself. In the shadow of devastation, they find strength, reminding the world that even amidst terror, human resilience prevails.
The sun rises over Lindisfarne, casting a pale, ghostly light across the charred remains of the monastery. Smoke curls lazily from hidden embers, blending with the morning mist, as if the island itself exhales a weary sigh. The monks move quietly, deliberately, each step measured and careful. The ruins that greeted them yesterday now bear a sense of cautious order, a fragile hope taking root among the devastation. Edred stands at the cliff's edge, gazing out over the gray sea. His mind is heavy with the knowledge of what is past and the looming certainty of what is yet to come. The Viking attack was more than just a raid. It was a signal, a declaration that the Northmen have arrived, and England must reckon with their presence. The long ships that once vanished into the fog now exist in memory alone, but their shadow stretches across every kingdom, every coastline, every monastery and village. The monks begin their morning with prayers, soft voices blending with the sound of waves crashing against jagged rocks. The rhythm is meditative, almost defiant. Though the monastery is scarred and much of its treasures lost, The act of devotion reasserts the spirit of Lindisfarne. Every chant, every whispered prayer becomes a shield against despair, a small act of resistance against the violence that threatened to consume them.
Aelfric gathers the novices for a lesson in vigilance and survival. They move through the ruined halls, checking hidden compartments, reinforcing the cellar, and cataloging manuscripts. Each action is deliberate, a practical preparation rooted in the painful lessons of the previous day. We cannot undo what has happened, he tells them, but we can preserve what remains. Knowledge, faith, courage, these are ours to protect, and protect them we shall. Outside, the cliffs remain a vantage point, a watchful eye over the horizon. Edred and several monks patrol cautiously, scanning the distant waves for signs of returning longships. The wind carries the faint scent of salt and ash, mingling with the memory of smoke from the burned monastery. Every movement in the mist, every distant gull is a potential threat. But there is also beauty in the harshness, the endless rhythm of waves, the relentless wind, the enduring light of the rising sun, reminders that life continues despite destruction. The monks begin to rebuild in small, careful ways. Broken beams are replaced where possible, walls are reinforced, and the most valuable relics are carefully hidden or transported to the most secure locations. Each act of restoration is a declaration. Lindisfarne survives. It is not just a building, not just a collection of manuscripts. It is a symbol of human perseverance and faith. Even in the face of overwhelming violence, the monks assert their resilience through action.
Word of the raid spreads across the coast, carried by travelers, merchants, and the few survivors who reach other monasteries. The tale of dragon-headed ships, merciless warriors, and burning halls ignites fear across England. But it also spreads lessons. Vigilance, preparation, and unity are necessary for survival. Leaders begin to consider coastal defenses, alliances, and strategies to resist the growing threat of the Vikings. The attack on Lindisfarne, though catastrophic, becomes a catalyst for change, an event that reshapes the priorities of kingdoms and monasteries alike. Within the monastery, life returns in small increments. Novices learn to move quietly through the halls, to recognize the signs of danger, and to protect the fragile treasures that remain. They rehearse emergency routines, hidden compartments, and signals for alarm. Every action is a lesson in resilience, every precaution a testament to the human instinct to endure. The monks understand that their survival depends on knowledge, preparation, and unwavering faith. Edred reflects on the psychological toll of the attack. Dreams of fire, screaming, and axes continue to haunt many of the survivors. Some struggle to sleep, some whisper prayers through the night, and some sit in silence, absorbing the enormity of what has happened. Yet through shared experience, the monks find strength. Stories of courage, quick thinking, and preservation of life and knowledge are shared, bonding the survivors and reinforcing the community's sense of purpose.
Aelfric discovers another hidden manuscript, a small, fragile testament to centuries of devotion and scholarship. Carefully, he places it in the reinforced cellar, each motion deliberate, reverent. This small act becomes emblematic of the monastery's resilience. Though much has been lost, the preservation of even a single manuscript carries immense weight. It is a seed of hope, a bridge between past and future. The monastery begins to take shape again. Altars are reconstructed, albeit imperfectly, and the spaces for prayer regain a semblance of sanctity. Candles are lit,
their flames flickering against blackened stone, casting long shadows that dance across scorched walls. The monks' voices rise in coordinated chant, reverberating through the halls. Their devotion is a quiet but unyielding response to the destruction, a reminder that spirit can endure where stone and wood cannot. Beyond Lindisfarne, the Northmen continue to sail along the coast, their longships cutting through mist and wave, leaving destruction in their wake. Yet the monks know they are not powerless. Knowledge, faith, and preparation become their weapons. Lindisfarne's lessons are shared discreetly with other monasteries, creating networks of vigilance and protection. The monastery becomes more than a survivor. It becomes a beacon of resilience, a model for enduring the Viking threat.
As night falls, the island is quiet but alert. Monks take turns keeping watch, every shadow scrutinized, every sound analyzed. Sleep is brief, fragmented, but even in fatigue, the survivors demonstrate an unwavering resolve. Each flickering candle, each carefully preserved manuscript, each prayer whispered into the wind is a defiance against the chaos that once engulfed them. By the end of the day, Lindisfarne stands battered but unbroken. The ruins are still visible, scars that will remain for years, but the spirit of the monastery endures. The monks have preserved not just manuscripts and relics, but courage, wisdom, and the essence of human resilience. They have faced terror, fire, and death, yet they continue to stand, a testament to the power of faith and determination. Edred surveys the island one last time before night fully falls. The wind carries the faint echoes of past violence and distant waves, but also the promise of continuity. "We endure," he whispers, voice carried on the breeze. "We preserve, and we live." The story of Lindisfarne, its destruction and its survival, becomes a symbol across England. It marks the beginning of the Viking Age, a time of raids, terror, exploration, and change. But it also marks the beginning of a story of resilience, the story of those who refuse to be broken, who protect knowledge and faith in the face of overwhelming odds. And for those who remember, Lindisfarne is not just an island, it is a legacy of courage, hope, and the enduring human spirit.
Story 2. The Great Heathen Army. The words hang in the air like a storm cloud, foreboding and immense. Across the rolling fields and fortified towns of England, rumors travel faster than the wind. Viking banners, marked with serpents and dragons, appear on the horizon, slicing through the morning mist like knives of impending doom. England braces, unaware that this is not a mere raid, not a fleeting terror, but an invasion that will reshape its destiny. Ivar the Boneless and Halfdan, sons of the legendary Ragnar Lothbrok, stride across the vast encampments of their assembled warriors. Thousands upon thousands of men and boys gather, each one hardened by years of coastal raids, driven by vengeance and ambition. Ivar, despite his frail body, possesses a mind sharper than any sword. He paces among the tents, his eyes cold and calculating, mapping strategies, assessing loyalty, plotting a campaign of relentless precision. The army is vast, overwhelming, and terrifying in its scale. The men are clad in leather and chainmail, axes glinting in the morning sun, shields emblazoned with menacing designs. Each soldier knows their role: strike fast, strike hard, and strike without mercy. They are not here for treasure alone. They are here to conquer, to dominate, to avenge their father, and to make all of England bow before them.
A small village on the edge of the Northumbrian countryside awakens to the distant sound of horns and drums. Shepherds glance toward the horizon, uneasy, feeling the vibration in the earth itself. Farmers pause, hands gripping the handles of tools, eyes wide with foreboding. Mothers clutch their children, whispering prayers to saints, their voices trembling in fear. This is no ordinary attack. The great heathen army is coming, and it moves with terrifying purpose. The army marches through forests, rivers, and fields with mechanical precision. Scouts move ahead, signaling the movements of English forces. The sons of Ragnar demand not only obedience, but devotion. They inspire fear and loyalty alike, preaching vengeance and glory. Along the way, villages are warned or burned if resistance is met. Stories of past raids fuel the terror. Tales of dragon-headed longships and slaughtered monasteries spreading faster than the army itself. In York, the city braces for the inevitable. Its walls are reinforced, gates barred, and soldiers ready their weapons. Yet even fortified, the citizens cannot fully grasp the scale of the threat approaching. Messengers arrive breathless, speaking of thousands of warriors advancing with the precision of an unstoppable tide. Panic mixes with determination. Priests offer blessings, while nobles debate strategies, some desperate, others paralyzed by fear.
Ivar stands on a hill overlooking a wide valley, the army stretched out like a river of men, each step pounding the earth with intent. He speaks to his commanders, laying out the plan to split the English forces, to force them into disarray, and to strike with precision where they are weakest. Every village, every town, every kingdom must feel the weight of vengeance. The sons of Ragnar are not raiders, they are conquerors. Halfdan rides along the ranks, inspecting his men, nodding approvingly at their readiness. His voice booms over the clatter of marching feet, instilling courage and fear simultaneously. "Remember our father," he shouts. "Remember the blood spilled by those who betrayed us. Today we take what is ours. Today England remembers the sons of Ragnar." The men roar, a sound that rises above the wind, shaking the very air and sending a chill through the valleys below. As the army advances, small skirmishes erupt. English soldiers try to impede the invaders, but they are quickly overwhelmed. The Viking strategy, disciplined formations, and sheer numbers leave defenders reeling. Towns fall not because of lack of courage, but because the scale of the assault is unimaginable. Rivers of men, axes raised, shields locked together, push forward like an unstoppable tide. Those who survive are forced to retreat, sending word of the devastation back to their leaders, messages that carry panic as much as information.
Night falls, and the army sets camp in newly conquered territory. Fires dot the landscape, illuminating the scale of what has been achieved in a single day. Warriors sharpen their weapons, repair their armor, and recount victories and losses. Ivar and Halfdan plan the next day's march with ruthless efficiency. The sons of Ragnar have shown that they are more than men. They are a force of nature, a living embodiment of vengeance and ambition. In a small, terrified hamlet, survivors whisper tales of the day's terror. Families huddle in cellars, praying that the next morning will not bring the same destruction. Mothers rock their children, trembling, whispering that perhaps the sons of Ragnar will pass them by. Yet the distant sound of drums and the clatter of marching feet remind them that there is no safety. The great heathen army is not content with terror. They seek total conquest, and England will never again feel secure. By dawn, the army moves again, relentless, unstoppable. Fields, rivers, forests, nothing halts their advance. Kingdoms fall, castles are besieged, and villages are razed. The sons of Ragnar carve a path of fear and domination, their strategy and fury leaving an indelible mark on the land. England stands on the edge of chaos, and the story of the great heathen army becomes legend, a warning that echoes through generations.
The morning mist clings to the valleys of Northumbria as the great heathen army advances. Horses stir in the shadows of dense forests, their hooves muffled by moss and earth. The air is thick with anticipation, the tension of an army poised to strike. Villagers awaken to the sound of distant horns, a call signaling the unstoppable approach of Ragnar's sons. Panic flares in small communities as men grab weapons, women hide children, and the elderly cling to prayer. Ivar the Boneless moves among his commanders, his eyes sharp, calculating. His body may be frail, but his mind commands thousands. Every movement of the English defenders is analyzed, every weakness noted. He whispers instructions with deadly precision. Divide their forces, force them into the open, strike where they least expect. Halfdan rides beside him, scanning the horizon, his gaze sweeping over the ranks of men, each one trained, armed, and ready to carry out their leader's vision. A fortified town emerges ahead. Its walls are high, but the Vikings have faced stronger defenses. The army fans out, scouts probing the perimeter, marking weak points. The sound of drums rises like a heartbeat, echoing across the fields. It is a rhythm designed to unnerve, to intimidate, to communicate with the army without a single word.
The first clash begins at the town gates. English soldiers rush to repel the invaders, arrows flying and swords clashing. Yet the sheer numbers and ferocity of the Vikings force the defenders back. Aelfric, a seasoned English captain, shouts orders, but his men are pushed aside by axes and shields. Every push forward is a lesson in the brutal efficiency of Ragnar's sons, each strike designed to break the morale of those who oppose them.
In the town square, a priest raises a cross, attempting to rally the frightened citizens and defenders. "Pray, for God will protect us," he shouts, voice cracking with fear. But the sons of Ragnar care little for prayer. Their vengeance and ambition are immediate, tangible, and relentless. Buildings burn, arrows fly, and the clang of metal against metal resounds through the valley. No one escapes the terror completely, and those who survive bear scars, both visible and hidden deep within their minds. Beyond the town, fields are trampled underfoot as the army advances. Horses stir panic among livestock, scattering in every direction, leaving chaos in their wake. The Vikings leave a trail of destruction behind, not indiscriminately, but with calculated brutality. Their goal is not only conquest, but to send a message. England will pay for Ragnar's death, and no settlement is beyond their reach. As night falls, the army consolidates its gains. Fires flicker across the valley, casting long shadows that dance across the hills. Warriors tend to weapons, care for the wounded, and recount the day's victories and losses. Ivar and Halfdan plan the next day's operations with meticulous care. Every village, every stronghold, every kingdom must fall into line,
one after the other, under the relentless pressure of strategy, fear, and unstoppable force.
The survivors of the town huddle in hidden corners, trembling and whispering tales of the day's terror. Parents reassure children, trying to mask the fear in their own eyes. Old men murmur prayers, remembering saints and gods alike. Each whisper, each careful movement is a fight to maintain a shred of humanity amidst overwhelming violence. For them, the horror of the great heathen army is not just a story. It is a living nightmare that threatens to engulf everything they know. Meanwhile, the sons of Ragnar ride across the open plains, their eyes cold, their purpose unyielding. Every conquered village strengthens their reputation. Every victory fuels loyalty and fear in equal measure. They are not marauders, they are strategists, generals, and conquerors, united under a single, unshakable mission: to avenge their father and dominate the lands of England. In the forests beyond the valley, scouts report movements of English reinforcements. Ivar receives the news, eyes narrowing. "We will divide them," he whispers, voice like ice. "They will fall piece by piece, like wheat before the scythe." Halfdan nods, already preparing his men to outmaneuver the approaching forces. England is vast, but the army's discipline, cunning, and sheer determination will overcome any obstacle. Back in the town, fires continue to burn, smoke rising into the night sky. Survivors cling to one another, sharing stories of courage and loss. They know this is only the beginning. The great heathen army will march onward, conquering, destroying, and reshaping the land. Their story will be told for generations, not just for the fear they inspired, but for the profound changes they brought to England's kingdoms and people. By dawn, the army prepares for the next phase of their campaign. The conquered town lies smoldering in the mist, its survivors hidden, traumatized, and forever marked by the events of the day. The sons of Ragnar ride forward, banners held high, drums beating a relentless rhythm that promises more destruction, more conquest, and more tales of terror. Every step is calculated, every action precise, every victory deliberate. England trembles, and history unfolds beneath the relentless march of the great heathen army.
The morning sun rises over the rolling hills of Mercia, casting a pale light over rivers and fields scarred by yesterday's battles. The great heathen army presses onward, a tide of warriors, axes gleaming and shields locked tight, moving with calculated precision. The air is thick with smoke from burned villages, and the distant wails of survivors echo across the valleys like mournful spirits. Every step the Vikings take signals their unrelenting advance, each footfall leaving an indelible mark on the landscape of England. Ivar the Boneless surveys the advancing ranks from a small rise. Though his body is frail, his mind is sharp as any blade, mapping strategies, anticipating the movements of English lords and their soldiers. His eyes flicker to the horizon where banners ripple in the wind, each color, symbol, and emblem a message of dominance, power, and impending doom. Beside him, Halfdan rides quietly, his gaze scanning the flanks for weaknesses, every maneuver rehearsed and precise. Ivar signals the vanguard to halt. Scouts report on patrols, weak points in the walls, and potential traps. Every detail is cataloged and transformed into strategy. Ivar speaks softly to his commanders, each word deliberate. Divide and conquer. Force them into disarray. Attack where they believe themselves strongest, and they will crumble from within.
His voice carries authority and precision, a command that every warrior in the army understands instinctively. The initial assault begins. A battering ram pounds against the gate, the wood splintering under the relentless force of Viking might. Axes strike, shields clash, and the cries of battle reverberate through the town. English defenders fight desperately, but the coordinated assault of Ragnar's sons is overwhelming. Panic ripples through the ranks of defenders as the Viking strategy unfolds flawlessly. Every maneuver is calculated to break morale, to sow confusion, and to ensure total domination. Inside the town, smoke fills the air, curling around shattered rooftops and scorched streets. Civilians hide in cellars, praying in whispers, clutching children and relics alike. Flames consume homes, sending plumes of black smoke skyward. The acrid scent of charred wood mixes with the metallic tang of blood. Screams pierce the air, mingling with the clash of weapons. Fear is tangible, a living entity that grips every soul in the town.
Halfdan leads a contingent through a narrow alley, flanking the defenders and striking where they are most vulnerable. His warriors move with mechanical precision, axes swinging, shields interlocking. Resistance falters under the pressure of discipline, training, and sheer numbers. The sons of Ragnar are more than conquerors. They are strategists, generals, and instruments of calculated terror. Each village and town they touch is transformed into a cautionary tale, its destruction echoing across the land. The town's defenders rally briefly under the command of a young captain named Athelwulf. He shouts orders, attempting to reorganize his men and mount a counterattack. They form a tight shield wall in the central square, trying to repel the Vikings with courage and determination. But for every blow they strike, the relentless tide of Ragnar's sons counters with equal precision. Each failed strike chips away at morale, each loss feeding the inevitability of defeat. Outside the town, smoke rises in waves, carried by the morning wind. Fields that once flourished are trampled underfoot. Livestock flees in terror, scattering in every direction. The great heathen army moves like a force of nature, unstoppable and methodical. Villages that try to resist are razed. Those that surrender are spared only as a demonstration of power and strategy. England learns quickly that submission may preserve life, but defiance invites annihilation.
As night falls, the Vikings consolidate their conquest. Fires illuminate the countryside, their glow casting shadows that dance across the valleys and hills. Ivar and Halfdan review the day's progress, noting victories and losses with meticulous care. The army rests only briefly, tending to weapons, wounded men, and logistical needs. Tomorrow will bring another wave, another series of villages, another step toward the ultimate goal, dominance over all of England. Inside the ruins of the conquered town, survivors huddle in fear, whispering tales of horror to one another. Families cling to one another, their hands trembling. Children, too young to understand the weight of the day, cry softly, absorbing the terror around them. The psychological scars of the day are already forming, marks that will linger long after the flames have been extinguished. Yet, amidst despair, small acts of courage emerge. An older woman shielding a child, a young man carrying a wounded comrade to safety, a priest offering comfort and prayers. These flickers of humanity persist even under the shadow of overwhelming violence. The army marches again at dawn, leaving the smoldering town behind. Every step forward is deliberate, a calculated push into new territories. England trembles under the weight of their advance. Each kingdom along the path begins to respond, some with fortified walls, others with strategic retreats. But the scale of Ragnar's son's campaign leaves little hope for those unprepared.
Ivar rides ahead of the main force, eyes fixed on the horizon. "They will fall like autumn leaves," he mutters, his voice calm but icy with determination. Halfdan rides beside him, silent, the wind carrying the distant cries of villages yet to be conquered. The army stretches like a river across the land, unstoppable and efficient, leaving terror and awe in its wake. By nightfall, the army halts near a river crossing. Camps are established, fires lit, and weapons sharpened for the next day. Warriors recount the day's victories, the scale of conquest weighing on every mind. Yet there is no celebration beyond the necessary acknowledgement of success. The sons of Ragnar have a mission, and it is far from complete. England is vast, and every step, every siege, every battle is a move in a long calculated game of dominance, revenge, and conquest. From the hills, the smoldering ruins of the conquered town are visible in the distance, a reminder of the power of strategy, discipline, and ruthlessness. Survivors whisper stories of the sons of Ragnar, tales that will ripple across the land, spreading fear and shaping decisions in kingdoms far removed from the battlefield. The great heathen army is more than an army. It is a force that will redefine the future of England, one town, one village, one battlefield at a time.
The morning fog blankets the countryside, softening the outlines of forests and rivers, but it cannot conceal the advance of the great heathen army. England trembles under the weight of Ragnar's sons, their banners rising like ominous silhouettes through the mist. From the vantage of a hilltop, Ivar the Boneless surveys the sprawling mass of warriors, each man and boy a piece of a living, breathing instrument of vengeance. The army stretches as far as the eye can see, a river of steel and leather, unstoppable, relentless, and meticulously disciplined. Halfdan rides along the flanks, his keen eyes scanning every approach. Scouts return with reports of English reinforcements, hastily gathered and disorganized. "They cannot match us in formation or in strategy," he murmurs, voice low, almost drowned by the clatter of hooves and the wind whipping across the plains. "We will pick them apart, fragment by fragment, until nothing remains but submission." His confidence is mirrored by the army, every man understanding the scope of their mission. The army approaches a fortified settlement, larger and more prepared than the towns they have conquered before. The English defenders are disciplined, their shields polished, weapons sharpened, and morale bolstered by rumors of reinforcements. Yet the sons of Ragnar are not deterred. Ivar signals his commanders, each gesture precise, each plan methodical. The siege is not a simple attack. It is a choreography of fear, strategy, and overwhelming force.
The vanguard strikes first, a wave of shields and axes colliding with the defenders' walls. Arrows rain down from battlements, yet the disciplined shields of the Vikings absorb most of the impact. Ivar watches with calm calculation, noting weaknesses, predicting movements, anticipating the defender's desperation. Every swing of an axe, every breach of a door, every shouted order is part of a larger design, a design aimed at total conquest and domination. Inside the town, chaos erupts. Fires ignite along thatched rooftops, smoke curling into the sky and blending with the morning fog. Citizens hide in cellars, clutching children and holy relics. The air is thick with the scent of burning wood, sweat, and iron. Screams punctuate the clash of weapons, blending fear and pain into a single harrowing soundscape. For those inside, time seems to stretch endlessly, each moment a test of endurance, courage, and the will to survive. Halfdan leads a detachment to flank the eastern wall, moving swiftly and silently through narrow lanes. Their precision is deadly. The defenders cannot anticipate the direction of attack. Axes swing, shields collide, and within moments, chaos ripples through the settlement. English soldiers attempt to regroup, forming shield walls in the central square, but panic spreads like wildfire. For every strike of resistance, the Vikings counter with calculated efficiency, leaving little room for hope or recovery.
Meanwhile, Ivar directs the main assault with his customary calm ruthlessness. He observes the battlefield as a chessboard, each move designed to manipulate, divide, and conquer. Messages are sent to sub-commanders, coordinating attacks across multiple fronts. The English defenders are not merely opposed, they are outmaneuvered, outthought, and outmatched at every turn. Every town, every village, every settlement becomes a lesson in the terrifying genius of Ragnar's sons. Beyond the battlefield, the countryside bears witness to the march of the army. Fields are trampled, livestock scattered, and forests echo with the cries of frightened animals and terrified villagers. The Vikings do not merely move, they imprint themselves on the land. Each camp, each conquered settlement, each skirmish leaves an indelible mark, a warning to the kingdoms of England. The resistance may be met with overwhelming fury. As the day progresses, the siege intensifies. Fires consume wooden structures, sending black smoke spiraling into the sky. Defenders fight valiantly, but the relentless pressure of strategy, numbers, and sheer force begins to erode morale. Citizens attempt to flee, only to be intercepted by flanking forces or caught in a chaos of collapsing structures. The great heathen army is a force of precision, not just brutality. Its victories are as calculated as they are terrifying.
Night falls, and the settlement lies in ruins. Fires flicker, casting long, twisted shadows across smoldering streets. Survivors hide among rubble, their bodies trembling, eyes wide with disbelief. Stories of the day's horrors will travel across the countryside, seeding fear in towns yet untouched, shaping the perception of the army's power even before their arrival. The sons of Ragnar have not only conquered, they have reshaped reality itself, proving that no kingdom, no village, and no fortification is beyond their reach. Ivar and Halfdan review the day's conquest from a vantage point outside the town. Maps and reports are spread across the ground, the details of every engagement meticulously recorded. Each action is analyzed, each victory logged, and every casualty weighed in the context of the larger campaign. The next kingdom will fall faster, Ivar whispers, his voice cold but confident. We have learned. They will not anticipate our strategy twice. Halfdan nods, already planning the next maneuver, eyes glinting with the calculated fire of relentless ambition. In the smoldering ruins, small acts of human endurance persist. A mother shields her child, whispering prayers in a trembling voice. A soldier drags a wounded comrade to safety, moving through fire and smoke with grim determination. A priest murmurs chants, attempting to comfort survivors, lending them courage in the midst of terror. These flickers of humanity endure even in the shadow of destruction, small yet defiant signs that life persists amidst chaos.
The great heathen army rests briefly before resuming its march at dawn. Every camp, every conquered settlement is a strategic foothold, a staging ground for the next assault. The sons of Ragnar know that domination is not a single act. It is a continuous campaign, a relentless push designed to destabilize, intimidate, and ultimately control all of England. The army's discipline, strategy, and sheer presence leave kingdoms scrambling, leaders confounded, and citizens terrified. By morning, the army advances once more, leaving behind the ruins of the latest conquest. England's kingdoms watch helplessly as news spreads of the devastation, panic and fear traveling faster than the army itself. The sons of Ragnar are no longer distant raiders. They are an existential threat, a force capable of reshaping the land through cunning, strength, and relentless strategy. Every step forward is both a warning and a promise. Resistance will be met with precision, dominance, and unyielding vengeance. The great heathen army marches on, its shadow long and unstoppable. England trembles beneath its presence, kingdoms brace for the coming storm, and history unfolds beneath the unyielding pressure of Ragnar's sons. Every battle fought, every village conquered, every strategy executed is a step toward domination, and the legacy of the great heathen army grows with every passing day, leaving fear, awe, and indelible change in its wake.
The wind sweeps across the plains of East Anglia, carrying with it the distant echo of marching feet and the low rumble of drums. The great heathen army presses onward, a river of warriors whose discipline and strategy have become legendary. Ivar the Boneless rides ahead, surveying the landscape, calculating every angle, every hill, every bend in the river. To him, the terrain is more than land. It is a chessboard, and each village, each fortress, each river crossing is a piece to be manipulated, controlled, and conquered. Halfdan moves alongside him, the morning mist curling around their cloaks like smoke from unseen fires. He listens to reports from scouts, noting English troop movements, reinforcements gathering in isolated strongholds, and villages attempting to fortify themselves in fear. Every piece of information feeds into Ivar's meticulous plan. England is vast, but its defenses are fragmented, and the sons of Ragnar exploit this with precision. The army approaches a large fortified settlement known for its skilled archers and seasoned soldiers. The English commanders are confident, having received reports that the Vikings are spread thin from previous campaigns. But confidence can be deadly when facing the sons of Ragnar. Ivar whispers to his commanders, "Divide them, fracture their lines, force them to fight on our terms, and their strength will crumble like sand in the tide." The siege begins with a calculated barrage. Arrows darken the sky as the Vikings position their men at strategic points. They do not simply attack, they manipulate, they bait, they provoke. English defenders rush to repel the onslaught, but every move is anticipated. Small contingents of Vikings slip through hidden paths, attacking from behind while the main force pressures the gates. Panic spreads like wildfire. The soldiers' formation falters under the dual assault,
and their morale wavers. Within the walls, chaos reigns. Civilians scramble for safety, carrying children and valuables into hidden rooms and basements. Smoke rises from torched buildings, filling every corner of the streets with acrid, choking fumes. The smell of burning wood mixed with sweat and fear hangs heavily in the air. Every scream, every clash of steel against steel, every cry for help resonates like a drumbeat of despair. Ivar watches the siege unfold with unflinching eyes. Though physically frail, his mind commands the battlefield with terrifying authority. He signals reinforcements, redirects units, and manipulates the battlefield as if moving pieces on a grand board. Each attack is deliberate, each strategy executed with precision. The English defenders find themselves trapped between forces they cannot fully perceive, unable to predict the movements of an enemy who sees every weakness.
Halfdan leads a flanking maneuver, guiding his warriors through narrow lanes and hidden paths. They strike quickly, cutting through defenders with brutal efficiency. Shields lock, axes swing, and the defenders' resistance slowly dissolves under the pressure. Every fallen opponent reinforces the inevitability of Viking conquest. Those who survive the first assault are often captured or scattered, their hope extinguished by the relentless forward push of Ragnar's sons. In the town square, a small contingent of English archers attempts a last-ditch defense. They form a tight circle, raining arrows on the advancing Vikings, but the sheer numbers of attackers render their efforts largely futile. Ivar notes the positions, calculating how to dismantle their defenses without unnecessary loss to his forces. Precision guides every movement. Strategy overrides brute force. By the end of the morning, the defenders' lines collapse, leaving the Vikings to claim victory with methodical efficiency. The aftermath is brutal yet measured. Fires are extinguished where needed, prisoners are gathered and organized, and the army consolidates its gains. Halfdan oversees the wounded and the captured, ensuring that their fates serve both practical needs and the psychological impact on surrounding regions. Ivar records every outcome, analyzing weaknesses, successes, and the effectiveness of every maneuver. Knowledge, after all, is a weapon as sharp as any sword.
Word of the conquest spreads quickly. Messengers travel from town to town, carrying tales of the great heathen army's relentless advance. Fear becomes a strategic ally, weakening morale in regions not yet touched by the Vikings' reach. Leaders of English kingdoms begin to realize that resistance may be futile unless coordinated on a scale previously unimagined. Alliances are hastily forged, but the sons of Ragnar are already steps ahead, anticipating moves and countermoves with unmatched cunning. In the evening, the army sets camp along the banks of a river. Fires flicker, illuminating the disciplined formations of warriors who rest, tend to weapons, and prepare for the next phase of the campaign. Despite exhaustion, the soldiers' focus remains unwavering. Every man understands the purpose: conquest, vengeance, and domination. The sons of Ragnar are not merely leading an army, they are directing a force that will shape the destiny of England. Amidst the camp, small acts of resilience persist. Captured villagers are treated carefully, for their survival can serve as leverage or warning to others. Warriors share stories of valor and caution, passing down lessons of combat, cunning, and survival. The camaraderie among the army is palpable. Each man knows the stakes, each man understands the mission, and each man fears failure, because it is not merely personal, it is tied to the honor and legacy of Ragnar's sons.
By nightfall, the landscape is quiet except for the occasional crackle of a fire or distant howl of a wolf. England's kingdoms lie in fragmented anticipation, fearful of the next day's assault. The sons of Ragnar have proven that they are more than raiders. They are strategists, conquerors, and arbiters of fate. Their campaign is not yet complete, but the foundation has been laid. Terror, strategy, and an unrelenting march that reshapes the land and the psyche of those who live within it. As dawn approaches, the army prepares to move again, the mist lifting to reveal the vast path of conquest that stretches ahead. England is under siege not just by men and weapons, but by the brilliance and ruthlessness of Ragnar's sons. Every step, every strategy, every victory is a testament to their vision, their cunning, and the unstoppable force of the great heathen army. History is being written in blood and fire, and the legacy of vengeance, conquest, and transformation will echo across generations.
The great heathen army moves like a living storm across the landscape of England, the early morning mist curling around banners and shields. Ivar the Boneless rides at the forefront, his piercing eyes scanning the horizon, anticipating every move, every resistance, every potential trap. Though his body is frail, his mind commands a force that dwarfs kingdoms. Halfdan rides beside him, silent yet ever watchful, the wind carrying the distant sound of marching feet, drums, and the cries of those who have encountered the army's relentless advance. Kingdoms across England brace for the inevitable. Word of previous conquests travels faster than the army itself. Villagers whisper in fear, nobles tremble behind fortified gates, and soldiers tighten grips on weapons, unsure if courage alone will suffice against Ragnar's sons. England's landscape is fractured, its defenses disjointed, but the army is methodical, precise, and unstoppable. Every town, every village, every fortress is calculated in the minds of Ivar and Halfdan before they even arrive. A fortified city stands in the path of the army, a proud, well-defended stronghold with walls of stone and seasoned archers. The defenders have prepared, aware of the army's reputation. Yet, even with preparation, the arrival of the great heathen army brings an overwhelming sense of dread. Ivar studies the layout, noting every weakness, every vulnerable angle. Halfdan positions troops for a dual assault, flanking maneuvers coordinated to strike fear and chaos simultaneously.
The siege begins. Arrows darken the sky, shields clash, and the rhythmic pounding of axes against gates echoes through the streets. Ivar's strategies unfold like a masterful game, manipulating the defenders' movements, dividing their attention, and striking precisely where resistance is weakest. Panic spreads quickly among the defenders, morale eroding under the combined pressure of fear, confusion, and the sheer scale of the assault. Inside the city, smoke rises from burning rooftops, curling into the sky. Civilians hide in basements, clinging to children and relics, whispering prayers both old and new. Every clash of steel, every scream, every arrow flying into the chaos is a reminder of the army's overwhelming power. The city trembles beneath the relentless siege, its defenders struggling to hold together against a force that seems to anticipate every action, every decision. Halfdan leads a flanking maneuver through narrow alleys and hidden paths, cutting off escape routes and striking at weak points. The defenders, though brave, cannot withstand the relentless coordination of the Vikings. Axes swing, shields lock, and every resistance is met with precision. The sons of Ragnar are more than conquerors. They are architects of strategy, psychologists of fear, and purveyors of unstoppable force.
Ivar watches from a vantage point on the hills above, analyzing every detail, calculating every possibility. He directs reinforcements where needed, adjusts attacks to exploit vulnerabilities, and ensures that the defenders are surrounded, disoriented, and overwhelmed. Every battle, every maneuver, every siege is not merely about victory. It is about establishing dominance, terror, and an indelible mark upon England. As the sun sets, the city falls. Fires burn along the streets, smoke drifting into the sky like ominous clouds. Survivors huddle in hidden corners, trembling, their lives forever altered by the relentless efficiency of the great heathen army. Stories of the siege will travel across the kingdom, spreading fear and shaping the response of other cities and settlements. England learns, as it never has before, that resistance may lead to devastation, and compliance may be the only path to survival. Ivar and Halfdan convene on the battlefield's edge, reviewing reports, assessing casualties, and planning the next phase. England is vast, but the army has demonstrated the capability to strike anywhere with precision, efficiency, and unyielding force. The sons of Ragnar are not only avenging their father, they are shaping history, leaving a legacy of strategy, terror, and conquest that will echo for generations.
In the aftermath, the army consolidates its gains. Camps are established, prisoners gathered, and resources secured. The soldiers, though weary, remain disciplined, tending to weapons, wounded comrades, and the logistical needs of the campaign. Ivar and Halfdan understand that the campaign is not over. England is still fractured, and the final stages of conquest require patience, strategy, and relentless determination. Across the countryside, whispers of the army's deeds reach far beyond the battlefield. Nobles in distant kingdoms fortify towns. Farmers hide in forests, and communities pray for mercy. The great heathen army has proven that it is more than a force of men and weapons. It is a psychological storm, a masterclass in fear and strategy, and a catalyst for the transformation of England itself. Night falls, but the sons of Ragnar are never idle. Maps are studied, strategies debated, and movements planned for the coming days. The army rests briefly, yet the tension in the camp is palpable. Every warrior knows that history is being written not only in victories, but in precision, calculation, and relentless pursuit of a goal that is larger than any single battle or village.
By dawn, the army is ready to move again, advancing deeper into the heart of England. Villages surrender before the first axe is swung. Fortresses crumble under the weight of strategy and fear. Ivar and Halfdan lead with unmatched cunning, ensuring that every step, every maneuver, every conquest contributes to the ultimate goal: total domination and the indelible mark of Ragnar's sons on the land. The great heathen army's campaign concludes not with a single dramatic victory, but with a relentless series of strategic conquests, sieges, and psychological warfare. England, once fractured, is reshaped under the shadow of Ragnar's legacy. The sons' brilliance in strategy, their ability to coordinate, manipulate, and conquer, ensures that their legend endures long after the fires have burned out and the battlefields have quieted. History will remember the great heathen army not just for the destruction it wrought, but for the unprecedented scale, strategy, and cunning of Ragnar's sons. Their campaign leaves England transformed, kingdoms weakened, and the memory of fear etched into generations. Ivar the Boneless, Halfdan, and their brothers have carved a path of vengeance, conquest, and legacy that will echo through the ages.
Story 3. The Pathfinders to America. The North Atlantic stretches endlessly, a frozen expanse of sea and sky, a challenge that would have turned most men back. Yet for the Vikings, the unknown is never enough to deter them. Ships with carved dragon heads pierce through the icy waves, their prows slicing the waters with purpose and elegance. This is the beginning of an extraordinary journey, a voyage that will take them far beyond the familiar coasts of Norway and Iceland, across seas shrouded in mystery, to lands that no European has yet set eyes upon. Eric the Red stands at the prow of his longship, wind whipping his red hair into a fiery halo around his determined face. The cold bites into every exposed inch of skin, but his gaze is unflinching. He is a man driven by exile and ambition, cast out from Norway, later from Iceland, and now pushing his people toward Greenland, a land rumored to be barren, harsh, and unforgiving. Yet where others see desolation, Eric sees opportunity, a chance to build a new kingdom, to plant roots in a land that few dare to call home. The ships glide along the icy waters of the North Atlantic, their sails taut with wind, each movement a delicate dance with nature's might. Waves crash against the hulls, spraying salt into the faces of the crew. Frost clings to ropes and shields, making every adjustment a battle against the elements. Yet the Vikings move with practiced precision, each man aware of his role, each hand steady despite the chill and danger. Navigation is as much an art as it is a science. Sunstones and star charts guide the way, while keen eyes scan the horizon for landmarks, icebergs, and the subtle hints that indicate proximity to land.
Years pass, and Greenland becomes a hub for exploration, a launching point for voyages into even more mysterious lands. It is here that Leif Erikson, son of Eric the Red, is born, a boy destined to surpass his father's legendary accomplishments. He grows learning the skills of navigation, sailing, and survival in the icy north, mastering both the tools and instincts required to chart the unknown. The sea becomes his teacher, the stars his guide, and the lessons of his father his foundation. Leif listens to stories of lands further west, whispered by traders and travelers who speak of fertile soils, vast forests, and strange new horizons. These tales ignite a spark of curiosity and ambition within him. Unlike his father, whose exile forced him to explore Greenland, Leif's journey will be one of choice, of discovery, and of the uncharted mysteries of the world beyond. He studies maps, observes the movement of birds, and consults the wisdom of elders who remember the old paths. Every detail is memorized, every lesson treasured, as he prepares for a journey that will change history. When the time comes, Leif sets sail with a crew as skilled and determined as his own spirit. The ships glide silently through the icy waters, guided by stars and instincts homed through years of northern navigation. Storms lash the hulls, waves threaten to overturn the longships, yet the crew's resolve remains unshaken. Every sighting of distant land brings hope and anticipation. Every challenge a test of courage, endurance, and ingenuity.
Eventually, a strange coastline emerges through the morning mist,
rolling hills, dense forests, and a climate far milder than Greenland. This is Vinland, a land of promise, abundance, and potential. The Vikings step ashore, marveling at the richness of the land, the strange flora, and the untamed wildlife. Here they find fertile soil for crops, wood for construction, and rivers teeming with fish. The land is foreign yet welcoming, dangerous yet full of opportunity. Leif's heart swells with both wonder and responsibility. Exploration of Vinland continues with careful caution. Encounters with indigenous peoples are tentative, filled with curiosity, diplomacy, and occasional tension. The Vikings establish small settlements, mapping coastlines, rivers, and resources. Every discovery is cataloged, every challenge overcome, a testament to their skill and resilience. Vinland represents not just new territory, it represents the pinnacle of Viking exploration, a bridge between the known world of Europe and the vast unknown of the Americas. As the sun sets over Vinland, long ships rest in the harbors, sails furled, and warriors gather to share stories of the day's discoveries. Fires crackle along the shore, illuminating faces filled with awe, exhaustion, and determination. The journey westward is not complete, but a foundation has been laid, a path that will inspire generations, a tale of courage, curiosity, and the unyielding Viking spirit. History will remember this moment not as an accidental landing, but as a deliberate exploration that predates the more famous voyages of later centuries. Leif Erikson stands at the edge of Greenland's cliffs, the icy wind whipping around him, carrying the scent of the open sea. His eyes trace the horizon, where the sky meets the endless expanse of the Atlantic. He feels the pull of the unknown, the call of lands unseen by any European eye. In his heart, a mix of anticipation and determination surges. This voyage will mark a chapter in history, a journey that no map has yet captured, a path that will bridge the old world to the new. The longships are prepared meticulously. Every plank, every sail, every rope is inspected. Crew members secure provisions of dried fish, salted meat, and hard bread, while barrels of fresh water are carefully stowed. Tools for survival, axes, knives, and harpoons are sharpened and distributed. Leif moves among the men, offering encouragement, imparting guidance, ensuring that each warrior, farmer, and navigator understands the peril and promise of the journey ahead. Their destination is unknown, but their resolve is absolute. As the ships glide into the icy waters, the rhythm of rowing and the wind filling the sails create a hypnotic, almost meditative cadence. Days blend into nights, nights into weeks, as the vastness of the North Atlantic tests endurance, skill, and spirit. Storms appear without warning, waves rise like mountains, and freezing spray lashes against faces and hands. Yet the Vikings are unfazed, trained to endure, disciplined to survive. Every challenge strengthens resolve, every obstacle sharpens instincts, and every sighting of birds or distant land fills hearts with hope.
Navigational skills are paramount. Leif uses the stars as guides, tracing constellations, noting the sun's arc, and observing the flight patterns of seabirds. Sunstones reveal the sun's position even through thick cloud cover, and the knowledge of ocean currents helps the fleet maintain its course. The men are acutely aware that a single miscalculation could send them into the endless void of the Atlantic, and yet their confidence in their captain and their training allows them to press forward. After weeks of treacherous sailing, the first sight of land appears, a faint line on the horizon, dark against the pale sky. The excitement aboard the ships is palpable. Leif orders the fleet to approach cautiously, mindful of reefs, hidden rocks, and the shallow waters near the coastline. As they draw closer, the landscape comes into focus, rolling hills, dense forests, and rivers that glitter in the sunlight. This is Vinland, a land of abundant promise, fertile soil, and untamed wilderness. The Vikings disembark cautiously, their boots sinking into soft, moss-covered ground. Trees tower above them, strange and magnificent in their unfamiliar forms. Rivers teem with fish, and the air is thick with the scent of pine, salt, and wildflowers. Every sound, the rustle of leaves, the calls of unknown birds, the distant roar of waterfalls, is a reminder that they're stepping into a world untouched by their ancestors. Leif's heart swells with a mix of awe and responsibility. This is not merely discovery, but stewardship, and every decision will shape the fate of those who follow.
Settlements are established along the coast, near rivers and natural harbors that offer shelter from storms and access to resources. The Vikings build shelters using timber from fallen trees, craft tools from stone and bone, and establish fishing and hunting routines. The land is generous yet challenging, offering abundance while demanding skill, adaptability, and ingenuity. Each day brings new discoveries: fertile soil for crops, game for food, wood for construction, and fresh water for drinking. Encounters with the indigenous peoples of Vinland are cautious but respectful. Leif's men observe from a distance at first, learning their behaviors, communication patterns, and the rhythms of life in this new world. Initial contact is tentative, filled with gestures, trade of small items, and careful observation. Leif insists on diplomacy and caution, understanding that survival depends not only on skill and courage, but on respect and wisdom in navigating interactions with those who have called this land home for generations. As the days pass, the Vikings explore further inland. Rivers are traced to their sources, forests are mapped, and natural resources cataloged. The men marvel at the sheer scale and richness of Vinland, the abundance of game, the fertility of the soil, and the diversity of plants and herbs previously unknown to them. Every discovery is carefully recorded, every observation shared, and every challenge faced together, strengthening the bonds among crew and settlers alike.
Life in Vinland is a delicate balance between exploration and survival. Storms rage along the coast, threatening longships and settlements. Wolves, bears, and other wildlife pose constant risks, demanding vigilance and preparation. Food must be managed carefully, tools maintained meticulously, and the environment respected at all times. Yet even in adversity, the Vikings adapt, demonstrating resilience, ingenuity, and the indomitable spirit that defines their culture. Leif's leadership is both practical and visionary. He inspires loyalty, encourages innovation, and maintains the morale of his people amidst the uncertainties of this foreign land. Every decision, from the placement of settlements to the organization of hunting parties, is calculated, balancing risk with reward and ambition with prudence. The crew understands that their survival depends not only on skill, but on unity, trust, and the guidance of their captain. As autumn approaches, the forests of Vinland transform. Leaves blaze in colors unknown to the Vikings, and the harvest season demands meticulous preparation. Crops are gathered, game preserved, and shelters reinforced against the approaching winter. The land, while generous, is unforgiving, and every precaution is necessary to ensure survival. Yet, despite the challenges, there is a sense of triumph, a recognition that they have reached a land of immense potential, a place where the seeds of history are being planted.
Leif's mind often drifts to the wider implications of their discoveries. This is not merely a journey of survival or exploration. It is the forging of a connection between worlds, the establishment of a precedent that will echo for centuries. Every map, every observation, every cautious step into the unknown carries the weight of legacy. He is aware that their presence in Vinland is temporary, fragile, yet it represents a bold assertion of curiosity, courage, and the unyielding Viking spirit. Evenings in Vinland are filled with reflection and storytelling. Fires crackle along the shore as men recount the day's adventures, share observations, and pass down knowledge from the elders. The sky, unpolluted by smoke or city, reveals stars unfamiliar yet guiding, a celestial map for those who dare to navigate the unknown. Leif often looks to the horizon, imagining further voyages westward, knowing that the spirit of discovery is far from satiated.
The journey to Vinland has been fraught with danger, yet it has revealed the remarkable capabilities of the Vikings as navigators, explorers, and survivors. Their ability to read the stars, understand the seas, and adapt to foreign lands sets them apart in the annals of history. Leif Erikson stands at the forefront of this exploration, a symbol of ingenuity, bravery, and the relentless pursuit of the unknown. As winter approaches, preparations for the harsh months begin. Settlements are reinforced, food stores secured, and long ships readied for potential voyages further afield. The men and women of Vinland have carved out a foothold in a land untouched by European hands, a place of abundance, beauty, and challenge. They have not merely survived, they have thrived, planting the seeds for exploration that will resonate across generations.
The morning sun breaks over Vinland, casting golden light across rivers, forests, and rolling hills. Mist rises from the water, curling around the longships anchored along the shore. Leif Erikson stands on a ridge, surveying the land with awe and careful scrutiny. This is a world untouched by European hands, wild and untamed, yet brimming with promise. Every tree, every rock, every river is a new discovery, a fresh chapter in the story of exploration that will echo across centuries. The Vikings move through the forests, their axes and knives ready, yet their steps cautious. The land is rich with resources, berries, game, timber, and freshwater streams. Every aspect of the environment is observed and cataloged. Leif insists that the crew respect the land, knowing that survival depends on understanding the rhythms of nature, from the migration of animals to the growth cycles of crops and the signs of approaching storms. Encounters with the indigenous peoples of Vinland are careful and deliberate. At first, both sides observe one another from a distance, exchanging gestures, watching, learning. The Vikings are fascinated by the skills, tools, and social structures of the locals, while the inhabitants of Vinland are equally curious about these newcomers with strange clothes, weapons, and ships that glide across the water like creatures of legend. Early interactions are marked by caution, but gradually a form of communication develops through gestures, exchange of gifts, and mutual observation. Life in Vinland is a balance of exploration, survival, and adaptation. The Vikings established small settlements near the rivers where fertile soil allows crops to grow. Fish are abundant, and trees provide both shelter and materials for building. Work is relentless. Homes are constructed from timber, stone, and earth. Fish are dried for storage. Game is hunted for food and hides. Every man, woman, and child contributes to the collective effort, understanding that their survival hinges not only on skill, but on cooperation, ingenuity, and adaptability. Despite the challenges, there is a sense of wonder. The forests are alive with unfamiliar birds and animals. Rivers teem with fish, and the skies stretch endlessly overhead. Leif often leads small parties inland, exploring further and mapping the terrain. Each discovery is recorded carefully. The location of rivers, the fertility of fields, the abundance of timber, the habits of wildlife. Vinland is a land of immense promise, yet it is not without dangers. Storms can appear suddenly, rivers flood, and predators roam the forests, testing the resolve and skill of the settlers. Over time, the Vikings adapt to the rhythms of Vinland. They learn to hunt and fish efficiently, to preserve food for winter, and to use the land's resources wisely. They build permanent structures, establish gardens, and explore the surrounding territory. The settlers grow confident in their abilities to survive, yet they remain vigilant, aware that the land is generous, but demands respect, skill, and caution. Every day is a lesson in observation, adaptation, and endurance.
Leif's leadership is central to the success of the settlement. He encourages exploration, rewards initiative, and emphasizes careful observation of the land and its inhabitants. Under his guidance, the Vikings established trade and tentative alliances with local tribes, exchanging goods such as tools, furs, and food. Communication is limited, but mutual respect and curiosity create a fragile yet meaningful connection. Leif understands that diplomacy is as crucial as survival skills. The success of Vinland depends not only on courage and strength, but on intelligence and foresight. Winter approaches, and with it comes the harsh test of survival. The Vikings work tirelessly to prepare for the freezing months. Longhouses are insulated with turf, food stores are fortified, and fires are maintained day and night. The settlers must balance their energy between exploration and preparation, for the land, though rich, is unforgiving. Snow falls, rivers freeze, and the cold tests every member of the settlement. Yet even in adversity, the community holds together, strengthened by leadership, cooperation, and a shared sense of purpose. The first winter is harsh, but the Vikings endure. Fires flicker in longhouses, casting warm light on faces lined with fatigue, yet filled with determination. Outside, the world is silent except for the wind and the occasional call of wildlife. Inside, stories are shared, tales of home, legends of gods, and accounts of the new land. Knowledge is passed down carefully, ensuring that every member of the settlement understands how to survive, thrive, and prepare for the seasons to come.
Spring brings renewal. Rivers swell with melting snow. Forests burst with new life, and crops planted before winter begin to grow. The Vikings venture further into Vinland, mapping the land in more detail and observing wildlife, flora, and potential resources. The settlements expand, small outposts appearing at strategic points along the coast and rivers. Exploration and adaptation continue. Each day a blend of survival, discovery, and cautious optimism. Leif and his crew recognize the importance of documenting their findings. Detailed notes are made of fertile lands, navigable rivers, and safe harbors. The knowledge of Vinland is recorded to ensure that future expeditions can benefit from these discoveries. The Vikings understand that exploration is not only about immediate survival, but also about creating a legacy, an enduring bridge between the old world and the new, uncharted territories they have begun to chart. Encounters with the indigenous peoples deepen. The Vikings learn which plants are edible, which animals are dangerous, and how to navigate the rivers and forests safely. Mutual curiosity gives way to cautious cooperation. Trade expands to include furs, tools, and food, and understanding grows between the two cultures. Yet tensions remain as both groups navigate the complexities of coexistence in the land where survival is never guaranteed.
As months turn into years, the Vikings establish a firm foothold in Vinland. They adapt their ships, tools, and farming practices to suit the land. Trade and communication with Greenland are maintained, allowing for the transfer of goods, news, and additional settlers. The settlements flourish modestly, a testament to ingenuity, courage, and the enduring Viking spirit. Vinland, once a distant and unknown land, becomes a tangible reality, a place where ambition, curiosity, and survival converge. Leif often reflects on the journey from the icy coasts of Greenland to the lush forests of Vinland. He understands that history will remember this land as a testament to human exploration, courage, and determination. The Vikings have not merely discovered a new world, they have survived, adapted, and created a foothold that will inspire generations of explorers. The Atlantic is no longer an insurmountable barrier. It is a bridge, connecting lands, peoples, and possibilities beyond imagination.
The forest of Vinland stretches endlessly, a tapestry of green punctuated by rivers that sparkle in the morning sun. Birds of unfamiliar shapes and colors call across the treetops, and the scent of wildflowers mingles with the salty tang of the nearby ocean. Leif Erikson stands on a small hill, surveying the settlements he has helped establish. His heart swells with pride, yet he knows that the challenges of this land are far from over. Vinland is beautiful, abundant, and full of potential, but it is also unpredictable, wild, and demanding. The Vikings move through the dense forests, gathering timber for construction and fuel. Axes bite into thick trunks, and the sound echoes like distant thunder across the wilderness. They set traps for game, hunt deer and elk, and fish in rivers teeming with salmon. Every day is a lesson in survival and adaptation, and the men, women, and children of Vinland learn to balance courage with caution. This is a land that rewards skill and punishes arrogance, and each decision carries weighty consequences. Trade and diplomacy with the indigenous peoples continue cautiously. Initial curiosity evolves into tentative alliances, with both sides exchanging knowledge, goods, and guidance. The Vikings learn which plants are edible, which rivers are safe to navigate, and the seasonal patterns of wildlife. In turn, they share tools, iron implements, and skills that the local inhabitants find intriguing. The exchange is delicate, requiring patience, respect, and constant observation. Missteps could bring conflict, but careful diplomacy allows both groups to coexist and learn from one another.
Life in the settlements becomes more structured. Homes are fortified, gardens cultivated, and longhouses expanded to accommodate growing numbers. Children learn the skills of survival, how to fish, hunt, farm, and navigate the forests. Warriors maintain and repair weapons, sharpen axes, and patrol the perimeter to ensure the safety of the community. Every task, every effort is vital. The success of Vinland depends on the unity, discipline, and diligence of its people. The seasons dictate the rhythm of life. Spring brings melting snow, swelling rivers, and the planting of crops. Summer offers abundant food, fertile land, and long days for exploration. Autumn demands preparation for the harsh winter, with preserved food, reinforced shelters, and carefully stocked firewood. Winter tests endurance, patience, and ingenuity as frozen rivers, snow-laden forests, and biting winds threaten survival. The Vikings learned to read the land, anticipate the weather, and adapt to the challenges of each season with increasing skill and confidence.
Exploration extends further inland. Leif leads expeditions up rivers, through dense forests, and over rocky hills. Each journey uncovers new resources: streams abundant with fish, forests rich in timber, fields suitable for cultivation, and clay and stone for construction. Observations of wildlife, weather patterns, and terrain inform future expeditions and settlement planning. Vinland becomes not just a place to survive, but a landscape to understand, map, and utilize wisely.
Yet the beauty of Vinland is tempered by dangers. Storms appear suddenly, waves crash with terrifying force along the coast, and predators roam the wilderness. Every expedition carries risk. Wolves prowl the forests, bears wander the hills, and unknown diseases lurk in the dense vegetation. Leif ensures that preparation, caution, and skill are always at the forefront. The Vikings are bold, but they are never reckless. Survival depends on balance between courage and wisdom. The settlements begin to thrive modestly. Gardens yield crops, streams supply fresh water, and the rivers and forests provide food and materials. Structures are improved with stone foundations and timber reinforcements, and communal areas are established for meetings, storytelling, and planning. The community grows stronger, more resilient, and more cohesive, bound by shared experiences, mutual dependence, and the guiding leadership of Leif Erikson. Interactions with indigenous peoples deepen in complexity. Curiosity and cautious respect evolve into trust and practical cooperation. Trade routes are established, knowledge is exchanged, and both groups learn from each other. The Vikings teach metalworking, seafaring techniques, and farming methods adapted to northern latitudes. The indigenous peoples provide insight into local flora, fauna, and survival strategies, knowledge that proves invaluable in navigating the new land.
Despite the progress, tensions remain. Misunderstandings, cultural differences, and competition for resources occasionally spark conflict. Leif must navigate these delicate situations with diplomacy and insight, balancing the needs and safety of his people with respect for the local inhabitants. Every encounter is a lesson in leadership, negotiation, and cultural sensitivity, ensuring that the settlements endure and that Vinland remains viable for future exploration. As the years pass, Vinland becomes a base for further exploration. Smaller parties venture along the coast, mapping the shoreline, exploring inland rivers, and discovering new resources. The knowledge gained from these expeditions is carefully documented, ensuring that future voyages build upon the foundation established by Leif and his crew. Vinland is no longer a distant dream. It is a tangible reality, a land of opportunity and challenge, waiting to reveal its secrets to those bold enough to seek them. Leif often reflects on the journey from Greenland to Vinland, understanding that their discoveries mark a monumental achievement in human exploration. This land, rich and wild, is more than a settlement. It is a testament to the courage, ingenuity, and unyielding spirit of the Vikings. Every observation, every map, every interaction contributes to a legacy that will resonate through the ages. The Atlantic has been bridged, not by force, but by determination, skill, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge.
Evenings in Vinland are filled with quiet reflection. Fires glow along the shore, illuminating faces weathered by wind, sun, and toil. Stories are told, lessons passed down, and the bonds of community strengthened. Children learn the skills and knowledge needed to navigate, survive, and thrive in this wild new world. Warriors maintain their weapons,
Traders record discoveries, and settlers plan for the coming seasons. Life in Vinland is challenging, but it is also rich with purpose, discovery, and hope. Leif Erikson stands at the edge of a cliff, looking out over forests, rivers, and distant mountains. He understands the significance of what they have achieved. This is a land previously unknown to the people of Europe, a bridge between worlds and a canvas for future generations of explorers. The Vikings of Vinland have not merely survived, they have thrived, creating a foothold in a world of endless possibilities, a place where courage, ingenuity, and the human spirit converge to carve history from the unknown.
The early morning mist hugs the rivers and forests of Vinland, curling around the settlements like a protective veil. Leif Erikson walks along the shoreline, long-ship prows glinting in the pale sunlight, and considers the land that has become both sanctuary and challenge. This is a world of abundance, yet one that demands constant vigilance, ingenuity, and adaptation. Each day brings lessons about survival, leadership, and the untamed beauty of the new world. The Vikings expand their settlements, carefully selecting sites with access to fresh water, fertile soil, and timber. Longhouses are built sturdier, fortified against harsh winds and potential threats. Workshops are established for crafting tools, repairing ships, and creating goods for trade. Every structure, every improvement is a testament to the adaptability and determination of the settlers. The land, while generous, is unforgiving, and only through ingenuity and perseverance can the Vikings thrive. Exploration extends further inland. Leif leads small parties into forests dense with trees and tangled undergrowth, discovering fertile alleys, rivers teeming with fish, and hills rich with stone for building. The settlers learn to observe patterns in the land, which areas flood during heavy rains, which forests conceal predators, and which streams offer the best fishing. Knowledge becomes their most valuable tool, guiding decisions about where to settle, hunt, and farm.
Interactions with the indigenous peoples of Vinland deepen in complexity. Respectful observation turns into cautious cooperation. Trade flourishes, with furs, tools, and food exchanged. Lessons are learned on both sides. The Vikings gain insight into local survival techniques, while the indigenous peoples observed the newcomers' metal tools, ships, and farming methods. Yet tension simmers beneath the surface. Misunderstandings and cultural differences occasionally spark conflict, reminding the Vikings that this land, for all its promise, is not entirely under their control. The seasons shape the rhythm of life. Spring brings planting, hunting, and exploration. Summer is abundant with food and opportunity. Autumn demands careful preparation for winter, with preserved stores of fish, meat, and grains. Winter tests endurance and ingenuity, as frozen rivers, snow-covered forests, and biting winds threaten survival. The settlers must balance labor with rest, exploration with preparation, and courage with caution, knowing that the success of Vinland depends on resilience and foresight. Leif Erikson's leadership continues to guide the settlement. He teaches navigation, survival, and diplomacy, ensuring that every member of the community understands their role in the success of Vinland. Decisions are made with both caution and ambition, as every choice affects the future of the settlement. The men and women under his guidance grow confident, skilled,
and increasingly self-sufficient, capable of facing the harsh realities of the land while exploring its limitless potential.
Exploration along the coast reveals hidden bays, fertile islands, and natural harbors perfect for longships. The Vikings map these features meticulously, preparing for future voyages and establishing safe routes for travel and trade. Every discovery is celebrated, every new insight recorded, as the Vikings cement their connection to Vinland. The land is no longer an abstract promise. It is a tangible world to be understood, utilized, and respected. Hunting and gathering are essential to survival. Wolves, bears, and other predators roam the forests, while rivers and streams offer fish in abundance. The settlers develop strategies to track, trap, and hunt effectively, ensuring that food stores remain sufficient through harsh winters. Every hunt, every gathering expedition is both a test and a lesson, sharpening skills, instincts, and teamwork. Vinland is a school of survival, teaching patience, courage, and respect for the rhythms of nature. The settlement grows steadily. Long houses cluster into small villages, workshops and communal spaces flourish, and the settlers establish routines that balance labor with rest. Children learn the skills of survival, navigation, and exploration, passing knowledge from one generation to the next. The settlers adapt to the cycles of the land, learning to anticipate storms, understand animal behaviors, and cultivate crops in a foreign climate. Life in Vinland is demanding, yet rewarding, a constant dance between challenge and mastery.
Encounters with the indigenous peoples of Vinland continue to shape the Viking experience. Trade routes expand, communication improves, and trust slowly develops. Yet both sides remain cautious, aware of potential misunderstandings and conflicts. Leif emphasizes diplomacy, teaching his people to respect the land and its inhabitants. Through careful observation and respectful interaction, the Vikings learn to navigate a complex web of relationships, ensuring that Vinland remains a viable home and base for exploration. Exploration ventures further west and south along the coastline. The Vikings encounter new rivers, valleys, and forests, each presenting opportunities and challenges. They observe wildlife migration patterns, locate fertile grounds for crops, and identify safe routes for travel. Every journey adds to the collective knowledge, ensuring that Vinland can support not only survival, but also potential expansion. The land is vast, rich, and full of potential, demanding both courage and wisdom from those who seek to master it. Leif often reflects on the significance of Vinland. This land is more than a settlement. It is a testament to human curiosity, courage, and ingenuity. The Vikings have not merely survived, they have adapted, thrived, and created a foothold in a new world. Every map drawn, every river traced, every forest explored is a step in shaping history. Vinland represents the enduring spirit of exploration, the pursuit of knowledge, and the unyielding determination of those who dared to venture beyond the familiar.
Evenings in Vinland are moments of quiet reflection. Fires glow along the shoreline, illuminating faces weathered by toil, wind, and sun. Stories are told, knowledge shared, and lessons passed down. The settlers strengthen their bonds, teaching children skills for survival, recounting tales of exploration, and preparing for future journeys. The nights are long, yet filled with purpose and hope, as the Vikings establish a legacy that will endure far beyond the fleeting seasons. Leif Erikson looks out over Vinland, a land that challenges, inspires, and rewards those brave enough to claim it. Every tree, river, and hill is a lesson, a resource, and a part of the story they are writing in real time. The Vikings of Vinland have transformed from mere explorers into settlers, survivors, and chroniclers of the New World. Their experiences will resonate through the ages, shaping the narrative of human exploration long before the voyages of Columbus or other later adventurers.
The winds of Vinland carry the scent of salt, pine, and promise. Leif Erikson stands at the edge of a cliff, gazing over the settlements that have grown from a handful of longships into thriving enclaves along the coast. Smoke rises from longhouses, curling into the crisp morning air, and the hum of activity drifts through the forests and along rivers. Children laugh as they run to help gather food. Warriors sharpen axes, women tend to crops and prepare food. Vinland has become more than a discovery. It is a home, a foothold, and a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Leif surveys the surrounding landscape, contemplating the extent of their exploration. Rivers wind through forests rich with deer, elk, and freshwater fish. Hills offer vantage points for observation, while valleys provide fertile soil for crops. The Vikings have ventured deeper into Vinland than ever before, mapping the land meticulously, recording every detail that might aid future journeys. Each expedition uncovers new possibilities, untapped forests for timber, islands abundant with game, and hidden bays perfect for longships. Yet Vinland is not without peril. Storms crash with sudden fury, ice forms along riverbanks, and predators lurk in dense forests. Every step forward requires vigilance, skill, and cooperation. The Vikings adapt, refining hunting strategies, constructing stronger shelters, and reinforcing ships to withstand the unpredictable seas. Leif teaches his people to read the signs of nature, to anticipate storms, track animal migrations, and locate safe passages. Survival in Vinland demands not only courage, but intelligence, patience, and respect for the land. Trade with the indigenous peoples continues, evolving into a cautious partnership. Items like iron tools, crafted weapons, and woven goods are exchanged for furs, local food, and guidance about the terrain. Cultural understanding grows slowly, with mutual curiosity and careful observation fostering trust. The Vikings learn which plants are edible, how to hunt efficiently, and how to navigate inland rivers safely. In turn, their new neighbors are intrigued by the longships, metalwork, and farming techniques brought from the north. The relationship is delicate, a dance of diplomacy, survival, and mutual curiosity. Leif reflects on the broader implications of their discoveries. Vinland is not merely a place to settle, it is proof that the world extends far beyond the familiar coasts of Europe and Greenland. The knowledge gained here will influence generations, guiding future explorers, traders, and settlers. Maps drawn by the Vikings mark rivers, forests, and safe harbors, forming a record of a land unknown to the rest of Europe. Their voyages are not fleeting adventures. They are the first steps in connecting continents, cultures, and histories. As the seasons pass, the settlements evolve. Longhouses expand, workshops flourish, and gardens yield increasing harvests. The Vikings refine their techniques for preserving food, building shelters, and navigating rivers and coastlines. Children learn the skills of survival, exploration, and leadership, ensuring that knowledge is passed from one generation to the next. Vinland has become more than a temporary refuge. It is a place of learning, growth, and ambition.
Exploration continues westward and along the coastline. Small groups venture further, discovering fertile valleys, uncharted rivers, and hidden bays.
Each expedition adds to the collective knowledge, documenting resources, safe passages, and seasonal patterns. Encounters with wildlife and the environment teach lessons of patience, resilience, and ingenuity. Vinland is a living classroom, offering both opportunity and challenge to those willing to observe, adapt, and persevere. Challenges persist. Winters are harsh and testing. Rivers freeze, snow blankets the forests, and food stores must last months. Storms at sea threaten longships and limit travel, while encounters with unfamiliar predators demand caution and skill. Leif ensures preparation, coordination, and leadership guide every decision. The Vikings understand that survival in Vinland is never guaranteed, but through cooperation, discipline, and experience, they continue to endure. The Vikings' presence leaves a lasting impression on Vinland. Their settlements, though modest, introduce new techniques, tools, and methods of organization. Knowledge of navigation, farming, and construction spreads within the community, preparing them for potential return voyages or expansion. Even as some members eventually sail back to Greenland, the legacy of Vinland endures in the maps drawn, the knowledge acquired, and the stories told.
Leif reflects on the incredible journey from Greenland to Vinland, understanding the magnitude of their achievements. They have crossed vast oceans, braved storms and ice, survived a foreign land, and established a foothold in a world previously unknown to Europe. Their exploration is a testament to courage, resilience, curiosity, and the unyielding spirit of the Vikings. History will remember this land not just as a place discovered, but as a symbol of human ambition and the drive to reach beyond the known. Evenings in Vinland are moments of quiet reflection. Fires flicker along the shore, illuminating faces weathered by toil yet bright with determination. Stories are recounted, lessons are shared, and strategies for survival and exploration are planned. The Vikings strengthen bonds, pass down skills, and prepare for the seasons to come. Vinland is more than a settlement. It is a beacon of courage, curiosity, and human ingenuity. Leif Erikson looks to the horizon, knowing that the Atlantic is no longer an impassable barrier. The knowledge gained, settlements established, and relationships formed will resonate for centuries. Vinland represents the triumph of exploration, the melding of cultures, and the enduring quest for understanding. The Vikings have not merely discovered a new land, they have connected worlds, leaving a legacy that will inspire generations of explorers and dreamers.
And so the sun sets over Vinland, casting long shadows across forests, rivers, and settlements. The long ships rest safely in the harbor, fires glow in the long houses, and the wind whispers tales of adventure, discovery, and survival. The story of the Vikings in Vinland is far from over, but the foundations are laid. Courage, resilience, and ingenuity have carved a place for humanity in a new world, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who dared to voyage beyond the edge of the known.
Story 4: The Twilight of the Gods. The wind whistles across the rolling hills of England, carrying the faint scent of smoke and steel. Harald Hardrada stands atop a ridge, his gaze fixed on the horizon, where the distant silhouettes of enemy forces move across the valley below. The year is 1066, and the age of the Vikings is nearing its dramatic conclusion. Once feared across Europe, the Northmen now find themselves facing not only the armies of kings, but the inexorable tide of change, of faith, of politics, and of history itself. Harald adjusts the fur-lined cloak around his shoulders, feeling the weight of armor and the responsibility it represents. Every decision, every step, every battle fought
carries the legacy of centuries of Viking raids, explorations, and conquests. His mind drifts to tales of Odin and Thor, to gods who once guided their people through storms and battles, and to a world now changing as Christianity spreads across the lands they once ruled. The clash between old beliefs and new powers is palpable, and Harald feels the tension in his bones, in the heartbeat of his army, in the whispering wind across the plains. The army marches steadily, a formidable force assembled with precision, experience, and relentless determination. Thousands of warriors, seasoned by decades of warfare, move as one. Shields clatter, swords glint in the morning light, and banners ripple in the wind, symbols of honor, pride, and the heritage of a people whose name has been feared from the fjords of Norway to the rivers of England. Each man carries not only weapon and armor, but stories of raids, battles, and survival. Every footstep echoes the rhythm of history, and the air is thick with anticipation and tension. Harald knows that this battle will not just decide the fate of his army, but the last chapter of the Viking Age.
The journey back to Norway and the north is long, fraught with danger and heavy with grief. Survivors navigate rivers, forests, and coasts, reflecting on both triumphs and losses. Stories are recounted not just of battle, but of discovery, bravery, and the enduring spirit of the Northmen. Vineland, Lindisfarne, and other sites of Viking exploration are remembered not only for conquest, but for courage and ingenuity. These memories will travel with them, carried in words, deeds, and the collective consciousness of a people transitioning into a new era. Harald Hardrada's mind drifts to the broader significance of the day. Stamford Bridge was not merely a battle, it was a turning point, a symbolic close to centuries of Viking dominance. Yet within that symbolic ending lies a deeper truth. The Vikings have left an indelible mark on the world. The lands they touched, the peoples they encountered, and the cultures they influenced bear traces of their presence. Harald may face defeat, but the story of the Vikings is far from over. It persists in history, legend, and the spirit of exploration that they instilled in generations to come. The survivors reach temporary encampments, tending wounds and rebuilding strength. Harald, though exhausted and injured, continues to lead, teaching the men resilience, strategy, and patience. Discussions are held about returning home, regrouping, and passing down the knowledge and experience gained over decades of campaigns. The Viking Age may be ending in the public eye, but in the hearts and minds of these men, it is a time of reflection, adaptation, and the preparation of a legacy that will outlive them all.
The twilight of the gods is evident in every corner of Harald's world. The old beliefs, rituals, and traditions that once defined the Viking ethos are fading, replaced by new faiths, social orders, and political realities. Yet the principles that shaped the Vikings, courage, ingenuity, adaptability, and relentless pursuit of opportunity remain unchanged. Harald's leadership embodies these traits, ensuring that the lessons of a century-long era of exploration, conquest, and settlement are preserved for the next generation. Evenings in the encampments are quiet, yet filled with meaning. Fires crackle along the riverbanks, casting flickering light on weary faces. Stories of past raids, voyages, and battles are recounted, passed from one warrior to another. Children and younger men listen, absorbing lessons of survival, courage, and honor. The tales serve as a bridge between the fading age of the Vikings and the uncertain future of Europe. Every word spoken around these fires is a seed,
ensuring that the legacy of the Northmen endures even as the old gods fade into memory. Harold Hardrada reflects on his life and his people. From Norway to England, from the icy fjords to distant lands across the seas, the Vikings have carved a path through history with courage, strategy, and a willingness to confront the unknown. Though the battle at Stamford Bridge marks the decline of their dominance, the impact of their age resonates across generations. The stories of bravery, exploration, and resilience will inspire those who come after, serving as reminders that even in the twilight of an era, greatness persists. As night settles over the encampments, Harold gazes at the stars above. The constellations that guided Viking navigators for centuries continue to shine, silent witnesses to the unfolding of history. The age of dragon ships, raiding, and conquest is drawing to a close, yet the lessons, stories, and spirit of the Vikings remain eternal. The twilight of the gods may mark an end, but it also illuminates the path for those who will follow, forever shaped by the courage and determination of the Northmen.
The morning sun rises over the northern hills, casting long shadows across the remnants of the battlefield at Stamford Bridge. Harald Hardrada lies among his men, weakened by injuries and exhaustion, yet his mind remains sharp. The clash of swords and shields has ended, but the echoes of combat linger, etched into every scarred hill, every battered shield, and every solemn gaze of the surviving warriors. The Viking Age is closing its final chapter, and Harald understands that history has recorded both triumph and tragedy in equal measure. Survivors tend to the wounded, fashioning splints from splintered wood and binding torn flesh with strips of cloth. Those who can walk carry the fallen toward the waiting ships, the river banks heavy with the weight of grief and loss. The once proud army is diminished, yet its spirit endures, strengthened by loyalty, courage, and the bonds forged in battle. Harald watches, ensuring order and dignity amid chaos, knowing that leadership extends beyond the fury of combat. It is in these quiet, painful moments that the measure of a leader is truly revealed. Across the battlefield, signs of the old world mingle with the new. Broken symbols of Norse belief, carved runes, discarded amulets, and banners marked with the hammer of Thor lay alongside crosses and Christian relics, a testament to the cultural shift sweeping through Europe. The old gods who once guided the Northmen through storm and battle are now shadows of their former influence. Yet their presence lingers in the courage, honor, and determination of the Vikings who survive, a subtle reminder that legacy outlives even faith.
The journey back to Norway is arduous. Harald's survivors navigate rivers swollen by spring rains, dense forests teeming with wildlife, and treacherous hills that test strength and resolve. Every step is both a physical and psychological trial, as the men confront not only the remnants of battle, but the dawning awareness that the Viking Age is ending. Stories of past raids, conquests, and voyages to distant lands like Vinland now serve as reminders of a people who once defied the limits of the known world. These memories, preserved in hearts and minds, will carry forward long after the final shield is lowered. Harald reflects on the breadth of Viking influence. From the icy fjords of Scandinavia to the fertile valleys of England, from the distant shores of Iceland and Greenland to the discovery of Vinland, the Northmen have left an indelible mark. Their raids, trade, and exploration reshaped economies, societies, and cultures. Though Stamford Bridge signals the decline of their dominance, it does not erase the echoes of their presence. History will remember the Vikings not merely as raiders or warriors,
but as explorers, settlers, and innovators who transformed the world around them. The survivors reach temporary encampments along the coast. Fires glow against the evening sky, illuminating faces etched with exhaustion, sorrow, and resilience. Discussions arise about returning home, preserving what remains of the fleet, and tending to the wounded. The challenges of survival are compounded by the knowledge that the world they once dominated is shifting beneath their feet. Christian kingdoms consolidate power, old pagan traditions fade, and new social structures replace the old. Yet, the Viking spirit endures, embodied in ingenuity, courage, and the unyielding will to survive.
Harold's thoughts drift to the legacy of leadership. For centuries, Viking chieftains and kings have inspired their people through courage, vision, and strategic acumen. From the raiders of Lindisfarne to the explorers of Vinland, from the warriors of England to the settlers of Iceland and Greenland, the narrative of the Vikings has been one of ambition, skill, and resilience. Harold understands that leadership extends beyond victory. It encompasses guidance in hardship, preservation of culture, and preparation of future generations to carry the torch of their identity. Evenings in the encampments are moments of reflection and storytelling. Fires crackle, longships rock gently against the shore, and tales of past glories intermingle with lessons learned from defeat. Children listen with wide eyes, absorbing lessons of survival, strategy, and honor. Warriors recount battles, navigating between pride and humility, sharing both triumphs and failures. These stories bridge the fading Viking Age and the uncertain future of Europe, ensuring that knowledge, courage, and memory survive, even as the old gods recede into myth.
The twilight of the gods is evident in every aspect of Harald's world. The rituals, beliefs, and traditions that once defined Viking society are gradually replaced by new faiths, laws, and cultural norms. Yet even as the old ways fade, the essence of the Viking spirit, courage, resilience, ingenuity, and a relentless pursuit of opportunity remains. Harald embodies this spirit, a living testament to the principles that guided his people for centuries. His influence extends beyond the battlefield, shaping the legacy of a people transitioning from mythic pasts into historical memory. The final journey home is both solemn and contemplative. Survivors navigate familiar coasts, reflecting on battles fought, comrades lost, and lands touched by Viking influence. Harald, though physically diminished, remains a pillar of resolve and guidance. The Viking Age may be concluding, yet its stories, innovations, and explorations have already shaped the course of history. From settlements in Vinland to the rivers of England, the impact of the Northmen is undeniable, woven into the fabric of multiple continents and generations.
As the Vikings return to Norway, reflections on the meaning of their age become more pronounced. What does it mean to conquer, to explore, to leave a mark? The Viking legacy is not merely in the land they claimed, the treasures they took, or the battles they won, but in the courage to journey into the unknown, the ingenuity to thrive in harsh lands, and the ability to inspire generations long after the age itself has ended. Harald Hardrada's leadership, bravery, and vision encapsulate these lessons, ensuring that the story of the Vikings remains alive in memory, even as the world moves forward. Night falls over the fjords. Long ships moored silently against the shore. Fires illuminate longhouses, casting flickering shadows across faces etched with experience, sorrow, and determination.
The age of dragon ships, raiding, and pagan gods is coming to a close. But the Viking spirit endures. In homes, in hearts, and in the stories that will be told for centuries, the courage, innovation, and relentless pursuit of the unknown live on. Harald Hardrada's life and the saga of the Vikings serve as a reminder that even in the twilight of gods and eras, greatness can endure.
The wind cuts across the Norwegian coast, carrying the chill of the north and the scent of the sea. Harald Hardrada sits atop a rocky promontory, surveying the fjords below, his gaze heavy with the weight of loss and reflection. The echoes of Stamford Bridge linger in his mind, the clash of swords, the cries of the fallen, the moments of bravery and despair interwoven into a tapestry of memory that will never fade. Though the Viking Age has drawn its final battle, the essence of their spirit remains alive in the hearts of those who survived and in the stories yet to be told. Survivors move quietly along the shore, tending to the wounded and preparing for the final return to their homeland. Each longship, carved with care and weathered by storms, carries the remnants of what was once a mighty force. Harald walks among them, offering counsel, encouragement, and a steadying presence. His voice carries the weight of authority and experience, reminding men of the courage and ingenuity that has defined the Viking legacy for generations. Every action he takes serves not only survival, but also the preservation of history, of memory, and of identity.
The fjords stretch before Harald, serene yet powerful, reminding him of the duality of the Viking world: beauty and danger, exploration and conquest, faith and uncertainty. Once, these waters carried dragon ships across icy seas, bringing terror and wonder to distant lands. Now they serve as a pathway home, a quiet route for reflection and renewal. Harald contemplates the lessons of his people, the value of strategy, the strength of unity, the importance of resilience, and the enduring need to embrace the unknown. These lessons transcend any single battle, becoming the foundation for a legacy that will survive the twilight of the gods. Evenings are marked by quiet rituals, simple meals, and the sharing of stories. Survivors recount battles, voyages, and encounters with distant lands and peoples. Fires crackle along the shore, illuminating faces worn by fatigue, yet brightened by the spark of survival and remembrance. Children and young warriors listen with wide eyes, absorbing knowledge, courage, and the principles that define their people. The Viking Age may be ending, but the values, innovations, and spirit of the Northmen are ensured passage to future generations through storytelling, memory, and practice. Harald reflects on the spiritual transformation of his people. The old gods, Odin, Thor, and Freya, once central to life and belief, now linger as memories, symbols, and inspirations rather than active guides. Christianity spreads across Norway, England, and beyond, replacing old rituals with new faiths, laws, and moral codes. Yet the Viking ethos, courage, resourcefulness, and the pursuit of exploration remains intact. It adapts, survives, and continues to shape the world in subtle but profound ways, bridging the old and the new, the mythic and the historical.
The return voyage is long, testing endurance and will. Long ships slice through icy waters, oars churning rhythmically, the wind filling sails with stories of past glories and the lessons of defeat. Harald observes the horizon, where the coastline emerges like a promise of home, reflection, and continuity. Each wave, each gust, and each distant cry of seabirds becomes a meditation on survival, legacy, and the enduring nature of human endeavor. The Vikings' journeys were never merely physical. They were explorations of courage, curiosity, and the boundaries of human potential. Upon reaching the northern settlements, Harold and his surviving warriors are greeted by familiar fjords, longhouses, and families who have waited with anxiety and hope. The return is bittersweet. Victory in survival, sorrow in loss, reflection in the face of the end of an age. Harold walks through the village, observing the continuity of life. Children play along the shores, women tend the longhouses, and men repair ships, weapons, and tools. Though the age of raids and dragon ships is ending, the communities, culture, and spirit of the Vikings endure, resilient and unbroken.
Harold considers the broader legacy. Viking influence extends far beyond battlefields. It is present in trade routes, settlements, exploration, and cultural exchange. The knowledge gained in distant lands, Vinland, Greenland, Iceland, and England, continues to inform navigation, agriculture, and social organization. These achievements, often overshadowed by tales of conquest, are equally integral to the Viking story. They highlight a people not solely defined by war, but by curiosity, ingenuity, and the courage to reach beyond the known world. Night settles over the fjords, fires illuminate the longhouses, and the stars above remind Harold of the constellations that guided his ancestors across oceans and unknown territories. He reflects on the intertwining of myth and history, gods and mortals, conquest and civilization. The Viking Age may be fading, yet the lessons, legends, and spirit endure, living on in the memories of those who witnessed it, in the tales passed down, and in the influence left upon distant lands and future generations.
Harold gathers his men for a final council. Words are spoken with solemnity, reflecting on losses, victories, and the responsibilities that remain. Strategies for rebuilding, preserving knowledge, and guiding future generations are discussed. Leadership, Harold realizes, is not only about commanding in battle, but ensuring continuity, stability, and the transmission of values that have carried his people through centuries of change. In this quiet moment, the Viking spirit is reaffirmed, resilient despite the passing of its age, undiminished by the march of time. As the night deepens, Harold stands at the edge of the fjord, the reflection of the moon dancing across the water. He contemplates mortality, legacy, and the twilight of gods who once inspired fear, courage, and devotion. The Viking Age, with all its dragon ships, raids, and exploration, is drawing to its symbolic close. Yet in the stories, the surviving warriors, the settlements, and the memory of deeds, it lives on, a reminder that courage, curiosity, and the will to explore can leave an indelible mark even when eras come to an end.
The first light of dawn stretches over the fjords, painting the icy waters and rocky shores with pale gold. Harald Hardrada stands quietly on the cliffside, watching the waves ripple and crash below. The battlefield of Stamford Bridge is far behind him, yet its echoes still linger in memory, in the silence of the fjords, and in the faces of the men who survived. The Viking Age has passed through fire and blood, glory and loss, and now it rests in the hands of history, its final chapters written in resilience, courage, and reflection.
Harold reflects on the journey of the Vikings, from the icy fjords of Norway to the far reaches of England, Iceland, Greenland, and Vinland. These were not merely campaigns of conquest, they were voyages of curiosity, resilience, and ambition. Every raid, settlement, and exploration left an imprint on lands, societies, and cultures. The Vikings' influence persists not only in physical traces, but in the myths, stories, and collective memory that define their enduring legacy. This is a history forged in courage, cunning, and the relentless pursuit of the unknown. The twilight of the gods is more than a poetic idea. It is a reality felt in the hearts of those who survived. Odin, Thor, Freya, and the other deities of the Old Norse pantheon are now distant echoes, lingering in stories and rituals that have begun to fade. Christianity spreads across Europe, bringing new laws, faiths, and social structures. Yet in this transition lies a continuity. The Viking ethos of courage, ingenuity, and resilience remains, carried forward by descendants, storytellers, and the enduring memory of a people who refuse to bow quietly to time. Evenings are marked by reflection. Fires flicker along the fjord, illuminating the faces of men and women who have witnessed the end of an era. Harold walks among them, sharing wisdom, recounting tales of exploration, and reminding the young that the spirit of the Vikings is not bound to conquest alone. It is present in the courage to face the unknown, in the creativity to thrive in harsh lands, and in the determination to leave a lasting mark on the world. Each story, each lesson, is a bridge between the past and the future, ensuring that the Viking spirit endures beyond the twilight of their gods.
Harold contemplates the moral and spiritual journey of his people. Once guided by the old gods, the Vikings are now transitioning to new faiths and philosophies, navigating a world shaped by changing kingdoms, politics, and beliefs. The shift is palpable, yet the essence of Viking identity, resilience, honor, and exploration remains intact. This evolution is not defeat, it is adaptation. It is the understanding that legacies are not solely forged in battle, but in survival, cultural influence, and the capacity to leave a lasting imprint on the world. As the fjords glisten under the rising sun, Harold remembers the men and women who have shaped the Viking story. From the raiders of Lindisfarne to the explorers of Vinland, from the warriors of England to the settlers of Greenland, each played a role in a grand narrative of courage, discovery, and ambition. The Viking Age may be ending, yet its influence is enduring, a testament to the power of human curiosity, resilience, and the unyielding will to explore beyond the known.
The final council of warriors gathers at the encampment. Harold speaks to them not as a commander issuing orders, but as a mentor, passing wisdom, lessons, and hope. Discussions revolve around rebuilding, honoring the fallen, and preserving the knowledge of the past. The Viking legacy, Harold reminds them, is not in the battles won or lost, but in the courage to act, the ingenuity to adapt, and the stories that will inspire generations to come. Even as gods fade and empires rise, the spirit of the Vikings remains eternal. Night descends over the fjords. The stars shine like silent witnesses to centuries of Viking exploits, raids, voyages, and settlements that have reshaped the world. Fires flicker along the longships and encampments, illuminating the faces of men and women who carry the torch of their ancestors. The Viking Age, with all its ferocity, exploration, and myth, is coming to a close. Yet its stories will echo across generations. The deeds of Harold Hardrada, the warriors of Stamford Bridge, and countless others are immortalized in memory, legend, and history.
In these final hours, Harold reflects on mortality, legacy, and the passage of time. The age of dragon ships, raiding, and Norse gods is ending, but the essence of the Vikings, the courage to face the unknown, the ingenuity to navigate it, and the will to leave a mark, remains. It is a legacy carried in stories, remembered in settlements, and preserved in the human spirit.
The twilight of the gods is complete, but the light of the Viking Age continues to shine, illuminating paths for explorers, warriors, and dreamers who will come after. The fjords are calm, a mirror reflecting the sky, the mountains, and the long ships resting at anchor. Harold stands on the cliffs one last time, gazing at the horizon where the sea meets the sky. The Viking Age is over, but its echo will endure forever. In the hearts of the people, in the lands they touched, and in the tales told across generations, the spirit of the Vikings lives on, a testament to courage, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of the unknown.